about me, she said. Tom Slater, political commentator, joins us now in the studio. So, what do we think about the mental health issue?
I mean, what a mess that the Conservatives have made for themselves here. When they put out this statement, I think people were quite taken aback by some of the language that was used. As you've already been talking about a little bit, gutter politics, so-called, is nothing new. But this is the sort of thing you might see in an anonymous briefing, you know, trying to set out that maybe there are things behind the scenes that people don't know. But to see it in black and white in a statement, to be honest, more than anything else, it just shrieks a kind of unprofessionalism, like a Tory party and a CCHQ, which is in total disarray. And I think particularly given the fact that what Kemi Badenoch's primary, focus needs to be now is stopping any more MPs going in reform's direction, this kind of conduct is only going to make the more right-wing MPs left in the party think, you know what, do they really want us here?
If this was a draft version, why did it sit up for 2 hours before it was retracted? And also, if the defection was a case of when, not if, which is exactly what the statement says, why was the statement not prepared in advance?
I think those are two very good questions, and we should probably leave it to viewers to make up their own minds as to how convincing it is that this statement on such a key issue wasn't drafted in advance, as you say, Ellie, but was also left up for that amount of time. This is one thing that is slightly under-discussed about the Conservative Party at the moment, is not only has it been drained of so many of its voters at the last election, not only is it increasingly being drained of many of its MPs, as we've seen in recent weeks with those 3 high-profile defections, but also it doesn't have a lot of money. The donations have dried up, the organisation is a lot more ramshackle than it used to be, and all of these things put together are contributing to what feels like a death spiral. I don't think it's too extreme to say that.
How does Reform fight these accusations of becoming Tory 2.0 when you've now got former Home Secretary Suella Braverman joining the ranks?
It is a difficult balance, and I think probably on reflection, maybe there are some defections they would have rather welcomed rather than others. I mean, Suella Braverman, Robert Jenrick, yes, they were in the last government, but they're also national political figures, and also I think have more of a claim to say that they had less of their fingerprints on the mess of the past 14 years.
I think they're also much more right-wing.
Exactly, it makes sense.
Right-wing, and they're in the right party. And you talk about being at home. Suella Braverman did this thing that initially I thought, well, that's a bit personal. And she put her head on Nigel Farage's shoulder. And I thought it was a bit... and then I thought, no, it's OK. She's showing she feels at home here, and they're one unit.
No, it was quite a surprisingly kind of emotional performance there, actually, in very different directions. Not only saying that she felt at home, but also being clearly quite kind of distressed by the fact that she'd had to leave the Conservative Party. It's all gotten quite scratchy very, very quickly. And I do wonder, on this point of whether or not Reform are going to look like the Tories 2.0, that is a big danger. But at the same time, this has always been part of the story of insurgent parties when they're trying to replace one of the 2 main parties, whether it was Labour leapfrogging the Liberals or the SDP trying to cause an upset in the 1980s. You do see a wave of defections. The question is what kinds of defections and what impact do they have?
You see, Tom, I look at it now and I think the Conservatives have to team up with somebody. They can't do things on their own. And I just wonder, is there a sort of marriage made between them and the Lib Dems, for instance? Is it in both their interests to come together?
Well, that's an interesting question of where the Tory party now looks. I mean, Ed Davey, over the course of the past 24 hours, has said that he would welcome Conservative defectors, so I don't know if that's going to create much love lost between the two of them. Obviously, Lib Dems very burnt by the coalition years, but the Tories are kind of thrashing around not really knowing what way to turn, not only just in terms of any kind of formal pact or agreements, but in terms of what direction they should take. We have seen the centre-right of the party say that they need to reclaim the centre ground, but I think this is the problem with the Conservative Party. They have kind of fallen between 2 stools. They're no longer the party of the blue wall in quite the same way, but nor can they lay claim to the red wall anymore either.
Meanwhile, with Reform, we're getting faces, we're getting names. You may criticise them, you may criticise where they've come from, but Nadeem Sahawi, Nadine Dorris, Robert Jenrick, Danny Kruger, Andrew Rossendale, suddenly Suella Braverman, there are people who you can identify with the party.
No, and it's certainly added to the recognisable figures, shall we say. I mean, this is one criticism that was often levelled at Nigel Farage, was that he wouldn't really tolerate any people of any particular stature in his parties because of the fact that took too much of the shine off him. Now, it's interesting that at each of these unveilings, these press conferences with these defectors, there is a slightly awkward kind of tribute to the man that seems to always take place. They're making it clear that none of these people are joining the party because they want to challenge Farage for the leadership. But nevertheless, I think more people around with more of a profile will help to undercut that sense that it is just a one-man band, as many people have said.
Can we talk about China? Because the front page of the Telegraph is actually also in the Daily Mail today, that China has hacked the mobile phones of senior officials in Downing Street for years. Despite all of this, the Prime Minister is heading to Beijing, looking at potential trade deals. What do you make of all of this and us potentially cozying up to China at this time, critical time for national security?
No, absolutely. It's another reminder of how delicate this balance is, because of course China is the emerging, challenge to the US as a potential superpower. It's also a country that you kind of have to do business with on some level. But as we all know, there are risks. It is a totalitarian, authoritarian state. It has been known to hack and to practice espionage, as all big countries do. But this particular revelations, which seem to come primarily from US intelligence, which has been briefed out, that during the Boris Johnson, Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak years, not necessarily that the Prime Minister's phones themselves were tapped, they don't know that, but certainly people in Downing Street, certainly people in Number 10, will continue to pile pressure on the Prime Minister now as to saying, is this really the time to be trying to strike up new deals with Beijing? Is this really the time to, as happened the other week, approve that super embassy at the old Royal Mint, given it's so close to all of those very sensitive fibre optic cables carrying all kinds of confidential information? I think everyone knows you cannot just kind of close yourself off from China. You cannot completely
close myself off. If I was Prime Minister, Theresa May, here's a story in the Mail today. Theresa May was told to get dressed under the bed covers so that the Chinese couldn't film her naked.
I mean, the fact that that's even a consideration is alarming, isn't it? And this is, one would think...
But it is alarming. I mean, it must be quite realistic that that's the sort of thing that they do.
No, that's one of the things in this Telegraph story which is really fascinating, which is that because of it's really unclear how much access these hackers have got. Now, this is kind of essentially state-backed third-party hackers, they believe, but because of the nature of modern mobile phone technology, the ability for people to get in potentially to your devices, it can go up all the way to the level of Prime Minister. I think people would naturally assume that we would be better defended against this stuff, or at least certainly our politicians would be better defended against this stuff, but we can never underestimate, I guess, the incompetence which can even attend the top levels of British government.
Well, OK, Tom, appreciate your take on things. Listen, come back after 7 o'clock and talk to us again. And if there's anything you want to challenge Tom on, agree with him, disagree, let us know what you think. We want to talk now about this storm Chandra, which you may have been hit with last night, the west of the country, the southwest, a lot of Ireland as well. Strong winds, heavy rain, snow, weather warnings in place with all of this. And we're joined in the studio by travel expert Simon Calder to get his take as to what damage it's done so far, how it's affecting people. Simon, good morning.
Good morning. Where would you like to start? In the air, on the rails or on the sea? Because all of them have pretty serious disruption this morning, exactly as you say, in the western part of Britain and also Northern Ireland, particularly badly hit. So shall we start in the air? Dozens of flights cancelled, most of them actually between Belfast City and GB. So routes, British Airways, 8 of them to London Heathrow, 1 to London City. Lots of regional routes on Aer Lingus Regional, in and out of Belfast City Airport. Loganair, the Scottish airline, has cancelled another dozen flights. They are everything from links from Glasgow to places like Tyree and Campbelltown, but also Manchester to Newquay. And so if you're flying, particularly across the Irish Sea, have a look at that. And if you're sailing across the Irish Sea, well, you almost certainly won't be. We've got cancellations pretty much all the way from Cairnryan to Larne, Belfast, all the way down to Pembroke and Fishguard to Rosslare. Those are all cancelled today. Most of the ferry operators, so P&O, Stena, Irish Ferries, are saying we hope later on this afternoon to have some sailings, but they are, quotes, in doubt at the moment. And then on the railways, well, it's been a pretty tough night. I checked late last night and things weren't looking too bad this morning. There's lots of flooding, for example, between Salisbury and Romsey. That's the line which runs from Southampton up to Bristol, blocked, between Axminster and Honiton in Devon, Dorchester and Weymouth in Dorset, and I'm also expecting problems, I'm afraid, on some of the Transport for Wales lines. So all a bit of a mess, I'm afraid.
It is, and we can imagine the flooding as well is going to cause huge disruption on the roads as well.
Well, yeah, locally, you obviously need to take care and follow local guidance. At the moment, the major roads seem to be okay, but you know how it is. It's absolutely vile out there at the moment. I cycled in, and just in London, which is absolutely not in the eye of the storm, it was pretty rough. So if you are driving later, then just be prepared for delays. And of course, the main part of the rush hour is going to be pretty horrible driving through all that rain on the main roads and motorways as well.
Sometimes it's not about travelling, it's about being caught somewhere. It's being in a location that you don't want to be, or you can't be there, or you have to be somewhere else or whatever, and then people get all these problems with hotel accommodation and where they're going to stay.
Very much so, and it looks as though there will be, just in terms of coming in and out of George Best Belfast City Airport, there will be thousands of people who are unable to travel. So far, Belfast International, which is the biggest airport in Northern Ireland, hasn't been badly affected, but that may change as the morning goes on.
I suspect that's because, not geographically or meteorologically, but that'll be to do with the size of aircraft that they will operate, because they will be heavier, bigger, long-distance aircraft as opposed to what you were talking about, Logan Air and whatever.
Yes, absolutely right. So if you take, for instance, Aer Lingus Regional, who run most of the routes from various points in Great Britain across to Belfast, they tend to be small propeller planes, and the big jets, as you say, can get in. British Airways cancelling, so far, I've calculated 9 of their flights to and from Belfast City. I think that might be because it's also, as you will know, really quite a tight airport to get in and out, unlike Belfast International, which has
Ellie, this is your nightmare. I mean, this.
I'm hoping my flight can take off tomorrow.
Yeah, but bad weather, and you don't like air travel, do you?
No, I get a bit nervous. Yes, I've got a flight tomorrow, but hopefully it's okay. Heathrow to Nairobi.
Perfect. Yeah.
Going on my honeymoon. But hopefully the storm's passed by then.
Look, if you're looking long haul, there's
should be fine.
Dozens of cancellations in and out of Heathrow, but they are entirely of Northern Ireland flights, but also American flights, particularly from Texas, from the east coast of the US, and that's all to do with the horrible storms that they have had there. If you're heading south, that's just going to be perfect. There's a few odd cancellations. British Airways cancelled a Glasgow and a Lisbon flight, but whatever else happens, they will protect the long-haul schedule, and in particular, if they know it's you, they will look after you.
Thank you, Simon.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed for the outlook there on things.
And do take care if you are out and about travelling today. Just check before you travel and leave plenty of time. It's good advice, isn't it? So that's a look at the travel disruption. Let's have a look at the weather now with Alex Burkill.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good morning to you. This is your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. Storm Chandra is here. It's already brought some very heavy rain, and it's going to continue to do so through today, as well as the risk of damaging winds. The strongest winds will be across parts of Northern Ireland. Eastern parts of Northern Ireland have the risk of gusts of around 70, 75 miles per hour, and some significant disruption likely. Worth noting, elsewhere, as the band of heavy rain pushes its way northwards, we're going to see some significant snow building up over higher ground of parts of northern England and also much of Scotland, and then elsewhere showers following in behind after a very wet night towards the southwest. Temperatures just about getting into double figures towards the south, much colder than this further north, all the while when it's so wet and so windy, well, it's going to feel much colder than those temperatures may suggest. So a wet end to the day across much of central, northern and eastern Scotland. Lots of snow falling and accumulating over the higher ground. That's going to cause some disruption. The strong winds and the heavy rain continues across Northern Ireland for a little while yet. Difficult conditions for the evening rush hour. Meanwhile, plenty of showers then feeding in from the south and west across much of England and Wales. Just some central eastern parts of England having a drier, clearer end to the day. Then as we go overnight, well, we start to see the influence of Storm Chandra clearing away. So the weather will be quietening down. There'll be some dry, clear weather across some central eastern parts of England, and that could allow for a touch of frost perhaps. Elsewhere, some rain towards the northeast of Scotland, some showery rain towards the southwest, and with that, temperatures not dropping as low where we have the cloud and the rain. Then Wednesday, actually, for a large chunk of the country, doesn't look too bad a day. Yes, a frosty start, but there will be some dry, even sunny weather around for many places, the exception being across eastern parts of Scotland, some wet, some wintry weather here, and also across much of Northern Ireland and at times parts of Wales and the southwest, where it will be cloudy and wet at times as well. Temperatures, well, similar to today, but feeling a bit more pleasant out of the rain.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Now, do stay with us. Still to come, we're going to be reflecting on Holocaust Memorial Day with the chair of the Holocaust Memorial Day Trust. That's next on GB News Breakfast with Eamonn and Ellie.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Brave.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Allow.
Stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Get into the sport now with Paul, and a big game in the Premier League last night, which means a lot for the bottom end of the table.
Yes.
And that was Everton at home to Leeds.
Everton were apparently terrible in the first half and they got booed off. It's happening so much, isn't it? Everybody gets booed. It's always like a pantomime. It doesn't matter what game you go to. I mean, this is what amazed me. I don't want to go off on one here because it's a different game, but even Arsenal got booed off the other day, and they're the top of the league. There's no pleasing some people, but anyway, they scored a late equaliser against Leeds. Leeds were better in our first half. David Moyes made some changes, and then things turned around. But they are Everton are struggling at this new home.
But Leeds, they're struggling at that new stadium, correct?
Yeah.
But Leeds, on the other hand, are beginning just to clock up points.
16th now, so they're 6 points above the drop. So they're just beginning to move slowly. So whether they're going to be OK. But, you know, it's really interesting down the bottom. Everton are 10th, so they're mid-table. But what you say about we were saying about the Hill Dickinson Stadium. They've won 4, they've drawn 4, and they've lost 4. So is it the stadium? Does it make a difference? Goodison moving? I
think your stadium does make a difference. I mean, I went to see Man United at Elland Road just a few weeks ago, and there's no doubt if you can't make your home ground your fortress, what is the point?
Absolutely. Yeah. But there's so many results which is. I mean, look at Spurs. Spurs have got a much better away record.
I was about to say Spurs.
That's right. Than a home record. But I think something to do with it. I think maybe players get nervous when they're playing in front of their home crowd, whereas the expectation, the pressure may be more. I don't know, but it should be, like you say, the fortress. It was always that way, but I think things are changing these days.
Spurs ground is it's a beautiful stadium, absolutely beautiful. But do the players feel at home there? That's the thing.
That's the thing. We don't know. Is it the stadium? Is it the crowd?
Right.
Norwich. I've just mentioned Norwich. Norwich beat Coventry 2-1. See, Norwich, similar situation to Leeds. They were bottom of the Championship, and now Philippe Clement has come in. As Philippe Clement has come in, Belgian, turning things around. So they are moving up away as well. So they're now 18th, and Coventry still top with Frank Lampard. They would have gone 6 points clear, but still 3 points clear.
Tell us about the FA Cup tie last weekend, where Man City just clobbered Exeter by 1,000 or whatever.
It was a lot. 10-1. It was 10 goals they scored against Exeter.
Exeter want a bit more dosh from that tie.
Well, yeah, because the smaller clubs generally make money out of these FA Cup ties. So when they drew Man City away, they're thinking this is great. So they get 45% of the gate receipts each. And TV money is always helpful, but they decided not to show it on TV. So that's another thing. TV companies like the BBC and ITV, they'll just show 2 Premier League clubs. We don't want to see that. We want to see the big ones against the small ones. So they didn't show that. So Exeter then wrote a letter or an email, or whichever way they did it, to Manchester City saying, look, any chance you can give us a little bit more? Because when they played Man United quite a few years ago, United, being the generous club they were in those days, said, have them all, you take the receipts and it'll help you out, because Exeter are in trouble. But anyway, they whether the City reported them or not, but the FA found out about it, and now Exeter are in trouble. They're saying, well, you're not allowed to do that. That's against FA rules. How dare you ask? But if you don't ask, you don't get.
Don't ask, you don't get.
And I think it's a shame, because they made 180 grand and they could have been a lot more, because it was full.
Talking about making money, the time for the Great British Giveaway. There's a lot of dosh up for grabs, and you're running out of time if you want to claim it. Here's how.
There's only 4 days left to see how you can win, as our biggest cash prize to date is up for grabs, an incredible £85,000, and it really could be yours. That's tax-free cash to spend all throughout 2026. What would you do with £85,000? But you have to hurry, as lines close at 4 p.m. on Friday. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News week commencing 9th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck. Now, if you're travelling to work or school this morning, do be careful in that weather outside. Here's your traffic and travel update.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A90, Forth Road Bridge, is currently closed to double-decker buses due to high winds affecting driving conditions. Additionally, the M48 is closed in both directions between Junction 1 Ost and Junction 2 Newhouse, impacting traffic flow. Meanwhile, in South Gloucestershire, a road traffic collision has led to lane closures on the M5 northbound exit slip at junction 15. On the trains, TransPennine Express is experiencing major disruptions between Huddersfield and Manchester Victoria, and Avanti West Coast services face disturbances between Wilmslow and Crewe. Stay up to date at gbnews.com.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So today is Holocaust Memorial Day. It marks 6 million Jewish victims of the Holocaust during World War II, alongside victims of other genocides.
Well, today is the 81st anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau and is a day to honour those who suffered and died, ensuring that their stories are never forgotten.
Well, we're delighted to say, by the chair of the Holocaust Memorial Day Trust, Sir Sajid Javid, about all of this. It's an important day, Sir Sajid, is it not?
Of course, and thank you very much for having me on. So 27th of January each year is, as you say, Holocaust Memorial Day, and it's a day to commemorate the 6 million Jewish men and women that perished in the Holocaust and countless others because of the Nazis, but also to educate the living that we all have a responsibility, a duty to fight anti-Semitism today, to fight all types of prejudice today. And that's the work that we and many others will be doing today.
And education is such an important part of this year's theme, isn't it, which is bridging generations, because
That's
we
right.
are, unfortunately, we've got this dwindling number of survivors that are here with us to share their testimony. It lives on, doesn't it, through their children and their grandchildren?
That's right. I've had the privilege to meet survivors, to hear directly from themselves, and I can tell you, whether it's me, it's a young person, when you hear from a survivor, it's almost like you become a witness to the horrors that happened yourself. And therefore, hearing from survivors, and at our national ceremony today in London, we will have survivors. I know later today that Their Majesties will be meeting survivors at Buckingham Palace, and there'll be many survivors across the country, maybe some visiting schools and local councils and others. And it's so important to do that, because reaching out to young people and actually sharing with them that, you know, that the horrors of the Holocaust, they didn't begin with violence. They began with words and ideas, and they grew into this evil where 6 million and many others were murdered. And that kind of violence, it has, in other forms, it's continued. For example, what happened in Cambodia or Rwanda. And so it's really important to keep educating people. But if I can say so, especially because of the rise in anti-Semitism that we've seen in the last year, very sadly, at near record highs. Once again, we had the murder in Heaton Park Synagogue of Jewish people at prayer, the Bondi Beach massacre in Australia. It is very worrying to, of course, especially Britain's Jewish community, and that's why I think this year's Holocaust Memorial Day is perhaps more important than ever.
And I think why it's important, Sajid, is, correct me if I'm wrong here, and apologies if I am wrong, but I'm presuming you're not Jewish.
No, I'm not Jewish.
Right. So
I'm
that's,
Muslim.
Yeah, well, see, that's amazing. That's brilliant. And you are now the chair of the Holocaust Memorial Day.
That's right.
And I think this is very important, because this is something we all have to share. We all have to remember.
Yeah.
And our religion is not important in remembering it.
That's right. And, you know, you can think of it like this, is that 99.5% of the population of the UK are not Jewish. And those are the people we really need to reach out. We don't need to educate Britain's Jewish population about the horrors of the Holocaust. It's the rest of us that really need to be reminded about what happened, how so many millions of Jewish people and countless others were murdered and why they were murdered, but to learn from that and to educate ourselves and our children.
As you were saying, this Memorial Day feels particularly pertinent this year with the rise of anti-Semitism. Do you feel as though people have too quickly forgotten the horrors of the Holocaust? And what more can we do to protect Jewish people in Britain?
Okay, as you said, you started earlier by saying it's been 81 years since the liberation of Auschwitz. Obviously, it's a long time, and with time, you know, your memories fade, and that's why I think that having Holocaust Memorial Day, you know, each year is important to continue to remind people where horrors can lead, but also to keep working with young people in whether that's in schools. We, for example, at our trust, we have the Next Generation Ambassadors program, where many people, we want many more, come forward and they learn more than others, and then go on to educate children in their own schools or young people that they know. Also this evening, we have at 8 p.m. Today, this evening will be the Light the Darkness moment, where we encourage everyone, if they can, to light a candle, perhaps place it in their window, a virtual candle on their phones, but whatever they can do to show that they want to commemorate, but they also want to educate.
So just one other thing you say there, that memories fade, 81 years and whatever. But yet last week, I've got Jewish friends who live in Manchester, and these are separate people. And I was talking to them, and then I went to lunch with one of them, and the reality of people who are anti-Jewish, they live with that. They're quite frightened about that. I mean, we can talk about it as if it happens to someone else, but they feel it's happening to them. It's very real, and it's happening now. What could you say to people that this undertone of hatred still exists?
Well, first, I would say that I understand, and many people understand, why the Jewish community in the UK is many people are frightened and worried about themselves, their family. I understand that. And what I would say, though, is it is with moments like this, Holocaust Memorial Day, that we can all change that. It's up to the rest of us, the 99.5% that aren't Jewish, to change that environment and to remember where anti-Semitism, and remember before the Holocaust, there were centuries of anti-Semitism, and that led to the evil of the Holocaust. Sadly, that kind of hatred still exists today, but we can all do something about it. And anyone listening that cares as much as we all do, and I think most people do really care about this, they can show that they care. They can show their Jewish friends and many others that they care by doing something about it today and other days, but especially today.
Especially today.
Yeah.
Sajid Javid, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you
for your time. No, not at all. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, a very important conversation. Let us know what you think, gbnews.com/you'll-say. I think that leads us in very nicely, doesn't it, to our daily reflection on this Tuesday morning.
The GB News Daily Reflection.
Hi, I'm Richard England, Vicar of Crofton Parish. Do you think people can change? I mean, really change? To change something about ourselves, often we have to see just how bad things really are, how much our behaviour is harming ourselves or those we love. But we also need to see that a better life is possible. I once heard someone who'd lived with an addictive pattern of behaviour for years say that she started to change when she realised she wanted to live. This week we're thinking about the conversion of St. Paul. He was a terrible person. Within him, religion and political ideology had turned to hatred and violence. On the road to Damascus, he was shown how lost he had become. What he thought he was doing for God, he was actually doing to God. But he was also shown a better way. The way of love, the way of life, the way of Jesus. That experience, we're told, was like scales falling from his eyes. He didn't just see the bad within him. When he met Jesus, he also saw something good, something worth changing for.
Well, with the time at 18 minutes now before 7 o'clock, we've got the papers next. Lego has launched, well, something new. What part of your body do you put those on? We'll tell you right after this short break. The papers with Christoph Ufus and Chloe Dobbs next.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries, all sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's unsettled in the UK at the moment and very unsettled across southern parts of Europe. Storm Joseph is bringing some very heavy rain across parts of Portugal, Spain, also Gibraltar as we go through the rest of today and into tomorrow. We're talking 50 to 100 millimetres of rain in just 24 hours. And it's similarly unsettled further east around Italy and neighbouring nations. A huge amount of rain coming, the risk of thunder, also some significant snow building up. More unsettled weather to come through this week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Yes, thanks for having me very much. Yeah, they are struggling at the moment quite a lot. I mean, of course, we hear about taxes and the way that rates are changing, but actually pubs, over the last 2 years, whilst I've been going across the country, have been telling me over and over again, it gets harder and harder just to exist.
And you've got social media accounts, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people watch your amazing videos where you go into a boozer, you tell its story, you talk to locals, you get right to the heart and soul, because pubs aren't just about pounds and pence, they're about communities, they're about the mortar that holds together the bricks of Britain.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, who would have thought when I started doing this 2 years ago that I would be here now with almost 500,000 followers? It is a crazy experience. Of course, You know, this for me started as a hobby. You know, and I'm going to give away my age now. As 20 years ago, as a group of 20-somethings, we would be going into London for our birthdays and get pretty bored of some of the soulless, expensive bars that would exist, and, you know, very aware of the fact that we're in one of the greatest cities in the world with 3,500 pubs, and between those pubs, some of the most iconic sites that you can see, all, you know, anywhere in the world, and tourists come from everywhere to see them. That was our excuse then to go out on a pub crawl.
And I've been through your top 10 pubs, Thomas Vosper. I've been to 4 out of 10 of them. I'm delighted to see that the old trip to Jerusalem and Nottingham, my home city, is there.
I think the beauty of a pub is that what makes it special is very personal to you.
Yes.
One of the questions I do get asked more than any other is, what's the best pub to go to? But of course, some of them are huge, grand banking halls, buildings that have been repurposed, some of those old little pubs where you've got a nice flat warm ale and a fire to sit next to.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
What is happening in the papers today? Chloe Dobbs and Christopher Fufus. This morning we're delighted to welcome both of you to talk about that. Christo, this Chinese trip by the Prime Minister, amongst many things, do you think this trip was dependent on this super mega embassy in London? Because I do.
Yeah, I think that there is a balancing act going on with this government at the moment, desperate for any kind of trade or any kind of economic light at the end of the dark Rachel Reeves-shaped tunnel that we find ourselves in. And, of course, China is a part of that. The problem is that, as we're seeing on the front page of the Daily Telegraph today, China has hacked phones in number 10, not just the concerns about this government, but previous governments going back to 2021. Of course, we've got this huge Chinese mega embassy, which seems to be getting signed off, which has, if anyone doesn't know, the Telegraph have done some amazing journalism on this, actually, exposing all of these secret underground rooms where a lot of the plans have been redacted, and obviously a lot of these basement rooms as well, which have weird sort of cooling equipment in them as well, implying that there will be some mega computers down there, and they run parallel to a lot of the really important data cables that are running from the city with all of our financial information on them. But of course, this has been supposedly signed off because, of course, the UK is absolutely desperate to have ties with China because we need them way more than they need us because of the fact that economically we are pretty much in the toilet. And that seems to be, I mean, it's true, and that seems to be the balancing act that this government is absolutely desperate to try and juggle. But as we're seeing on today's front page of the Telegraph, China hacking mobile phones of senior officials in Downing Street for several years. State-sponsored hackers known to have targeted phones of some of the closest aides to Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, Rishi Sunak between 2021 and 2024. We don't know whether it includes the Prime Ministers themselves, but apparently the breach went, and I quote, right into the heart of Downing Street.
And if they had the ability to record phone calls, which is what this US intelligence is saying, then they would have been in the same rooms as the Prime Minister and potentially been able to record phone calls between the aides and
yes, it might not have been their actual phone.
Boy, talking about being in the same room, I mean, there you can see that headline in the Mail. Theresa May was told to get dressed under the bed covers so that they couldn't film her naked.
In fairness, my partner's asked me to do that many times, most mornings.
I mean, this is who we're dealing with.
Yeah.
How much more evidence do we need of Chinese espionage on an absolutely crazy scale for us to actually say, no, we're going to be tougher on China. We're not going to allow this super embassy. We all know exactly what is going to go on there. Why on earth did they redact huge parts of the plans if they weren't going to be up to no good? But, I mean, what China has done with the West is they have successfully pursued this policy of economic entanglement, where we are so reliant on them for trade that we sign off on anything, including
on anything.
I am absolutely gobsmacked that we are allowing this super embassy, but we have become so entrenched with them, we're so dependent on them for their trade that we just can't say no to anything.
Their manufacturing. I mean, literally, they have. We barely make anything because we've outsourced it all to China, and now you're quite right. We're all waking up, going, oh, actually, I wonder whether that was quite a good idea. Bearing in mind they seem to be spying on us and doing everything they can to undermine us.
Is it short-sighted, though, to look at a trade deal with China when we've just seen President Trump threaten 100% tariffs on Canada for their relationship with China?
But the thing is, I'll go back to my original point. We have so little positive economic news in this country that I think the government find themselves, and I'm not defending them in this, I think it's actually an indictment of how much they have screwed things up, that they have to turn to China. Because I think if we had a healthy economy ourselves, and if they hadn't screwed things up so massively and made things so much worse, made unemployment go up, made growth be at zero, all of these things that they themselves have brought in, we could be in a position where we say to China, you know what, we're going to stand up to you. We are not going to tolerate all of this. But we can't.
But then the government would say they're the second largest economy and you can't shut them out.
But also, I mean, at the moment, whilst all of the news is focused on the various different wars going on in Gaza and Ukraine, China has very quietly been taking over more and more of the trade routes across the world. So their economic power is just becoming so big that we're going to reach a point where
no one ever says what they mean. No one ever gets it. You know, I honestly, I'll probably get no trade deal. But if I sat down at the table with Chinese people to negotiate, I'd say, listen, let's get a few things straight before we go any further here. Somebody's got to talk straight to these guys. There's so much they adore people, bow down to them and whatever.
But it's sort of a bad dinner party, isn't it, diplomacy, where everyone sits around smiling at each other when they all hate each other secretly. But I mean, I do agree with keeping your friends close and your enemies closer. I agree with that. But you've got to be firm with people. You've got to be firm with other countries. And I feel like so much news lately has exposed how we have been America's
your views on the
China's
Chinese,
poodle.
if you're watching and listening, very welcome. Have your say in this. Chloe, we saw going into the break, we played a picture of huge Lego bricks. What were they doing and what were they forming part of?
So Lego have done a partnership with Crocs. Crocs are ugly enough as they are, but this is quite something. And these will put you back a whopping 199 quid.
Would these actually sell 200 quid?
I certainly won't be spending 200 quid on them.
I like a Croc.
My dad loves Crocs. My dad will wear those, I can tell you that. And there are a lot of...
Your dad would wear those?
They've come back in fashion. I remember 2008, they were all the craze, and then they were uncool. And all of a sudden, over the past few years, there's been this Croc resurgence. Much to my dismay, I think they're awful,
but there's
by
a
the way.
difference between a Croc resurgence and 2 Lego bricks on your feet. It's a bit different.
I mean, I'm interested to see how many adults buy these, because I can imagine kids wanting them, but I see a lot of adults, especially with all these Labubu dolls and everything that they want, adults wanting to buy essentially kids' toys these days and spend a heck of a lot of money on them. So they might fly off the shelves.
I love toys.
Do you?
I do. I have a weakness.
What toys have you got?
I revert to being sort of 10 years of age and whatever, and I buy model cars and things like that.
And Thunderbirds things.
Yes, I buy Thunderbirds, Captain Scarlet things, lots of things.
I do like Thunderbirds.
Action Man.
Grew up on Thunderbirds.
I am more offended by those Lego Crocs than I am by Chinese hacking.
Really?
I really am.
And that's saying something.
But they would go beautifully, those red ones, with your outfit today.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we didn't think about putting a pair in for you.
I don't think it's
Or how would they work in Nairobi?
Oh, on my safari.
Chloe and Christo, thank you both very much indeed. The guys are going to be back in 45 minutes' time. We will take a break, bring you the weather, and we'll be back top of the hour.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good morning to you. This is your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. Storm Chandra is here. It's already brought some very heavy rain and it's going to continue to do so through today, as well as the risk of damaging winds. The strongest winds will be across parts of Northern Ireland. Eastern parts of Northern Ireland have the risk of gusts of around 70, 75 miles per hour and some significant disruption likely. Worth noting elsewhere, as the band of heavy rain pushes its way northwards, we're going to see some significant snow building up over higher ground of parts of northern England and also much of Scotland, and then elsewhere showers following in behind after a very wet night towards the southwest. Temperatures just about getting into double figures towards the south, much colder than this further north, all the while when it's so wet and so windy, well, it's going to feel much colder than those temperatures may suggest. So a wet end to the day across much of central, northern and eastern Scotland. Lots of snow falling and accumulating over the higher ground. That's going to cause some disruption. The strong winds and the heavy rain continues across Northern Ireland for a little while yet. Difficult conditions for the evening rush hour. Meanwhile, plenty of showers then feeding in from the south and west across much of England and Wales. Just some central eastern parts of England having a drier, clearer end to the day. Then as we go overnight, well, we start to see the influence of Storm Chandra clearing away. So the weather will be quietening down. There'll be some dry, clear weather across some central eastern parts of England, and that could allow for a touch of frost perhaps. Elsewhere, some rain towards the northeast of Scotland, some showery rain towards the southwest, and with that, temperatures not dropping as low where we have the cloud and the rain. Then Wednesday, actually, for a large chunk of the country, doesn't look too bad a day. Yes, a frosty start, but there will be some dry, even sunny weather around for many places, the exception being across eastern parts of Scotland, some wet, some wintry weather here, and also across much of Northern Ireland and at times parts of Wales and the southwest, where it will be cloudy and wet at times as well. Temperatures, well, similar to today, but feeling a bit more pleasant out of the rain.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you for making us Britain's #1 news channel. Together, we have built something truly extraordinary.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A94th road bridge is closed to double-decker buses due to high winds affecting driving conditions. The M48 is closed in both directions between Junction 1 Ast and Junction 2 Newhouse. In South Gloucestershire, a collision on the M5 northbound exit slip at Junction 15 has resulted in lane closures. Unfortunately, the A3 northbound at the junction with the M25 is partially closed due to a broken-down vehicle. On the trains, there is major disruption between Huddersfield and Manchester Victoria, as well as between Wilmslow and Crewe. Stay up to date at gbnews.com.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest cash prize winner to date, as there's a simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash to be won. Go on that dream holiday, buy that brand new car, or just relax in the knowledge that the rest of the year could be on us. But you have to hurry, as lines close on Friday the 30th of January. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Good morning. The Tories backtrack on their mental health jibe at Suella Braverman.
Now, this comes as the former Home Secretary becomes the latest defector to reform.
Well, Nigel Farage has hit back, claiming that attacks from the Tories will only worsen. So, are we witnessing the return of gutter politics?
Did it ever go away? As the Prime Minister prepares to meet Chinese leaders in Beijing, we're debating, is it right for him to seek to strengthen those ties?
Brace yourselves this morning. Storm Chandra is set to hit the nation as severe weather warnings for wind and rain are issued.
It's a very unsettled day ahead with heavy rain, strong winds, also some hill snow. Stick around to find out what you're going to get.
Former footballer Emile Heskey joins us live in the studio to discuss a new app for your phone, and what it does is it aims to tackle abuse at football matches. He will explain.
Today is National Holocaust Memorial Day, and we're going to be reflecting on those who suffered during one of the darkest periods in history that saw 6 million Jewish people systemically murdered by the Nazis.
And we're going to be talking to 3 amazing rowers who've made history. They are the youngest team to ever row across any ocean. And I think that was the Atlantic. Yeah, there it is.
It
the
was,
Atlantic.
yeah.
That sounds pretty rough to me.
Me and Eamonn are going to attempt to row across the Serpentine later this afternoon as the oldest pair ever to have done that. In sport this morning, Everton get booed at half-time after trailing. They end up with a 1-1 draw against Leeds. An inquest finds that heading footballs likely contributed to the late Gordon McQueen's brain disease. No more wrist devices are allowed for Yannick Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz at the Australian Open.
It is a Tuesday morning. A very good morning to you. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast. Let's get straight into our top story this morning. The Conservatives have been forced to withdraw suggestions that Suella Braverman defected to Reform UK due to bad mental health.
Well, the former Home Secretary became the latest high-profile defection to the party yesterday. At the launch of Veterans for Reform, she claimed to no longer feel politically at home with the Conservatives.
I've had enough of Conservative betrayal. I've had enough of Conservative denial. I've had enough of the political chameleons who populate the Conservative Party. Enough of Conservative delusion. They are a party now that is too weak to save themselves, let alone the country.
Well, following the defection, the Tory party issued a statement raising questions about Suella Braverman's mental health before then deleting that statement 2 hours later.
It read, "It was always a matter of when, not if, Suella would defect. The Conservatives did all we could to look after Suella's mental health, but she was clearly very unhappy."
Well, in reaction, Reform MPs said that the Tories' comments say more about them than about me.
Why, Tom Slater, who's a political commentator, we say good morning, welcome back today. Why does it matter so much about Suella Braverman's mental health, whether temporary or permanently?
Well, it was clearly an attempt at a sly dig at Suella Braverman as she was out the door. A bit of mudslinging is hardly unusual in politics. I think the story here is one of incompetence rather than it being particularly unusually nasty. This is the sort of thing you would normally expect to see in a kind of off-the-record briefing. People around Kemi Babe not trying to shape the narrative, but not doing it in black and white in a statement. The fact that that went out, the fact that they then found themselves even more on the defensive than they were previously, I think points to one of the many problems the Tory party have. Not only have they lost voters, not only are they losing MPs, but also increasingly their operation is quite hokey. You've got statements like this going out, you've got Kemi Badenoch sacking Robert Jenrick on what looks like a Zoom call. I mean, all of these things, I think, just add to that stench of death, frankly, which surrounds the party at this point.
Was it appropriate? I mean, we're talking about gutter politics. Is this gutter politics? Did gutter politics ever go away?
No, I don't think so. And I think sometimes we can get a little bit too het up about the robustness, shall we say, of how politics works. This, even when it's not obvious to us now, in the open, it's certainly happening behind closed doors. But I think it does, considering where the Tory party are at in the polls, in public esteem, all the rest of it, it just looks desperate as much as anything else. And that I think is more damning than whether or not they were trying to slyly suggest that Suella Braverman was mentally unwell.
Tom, how would you assess things? The Reform Party, do you think this is a good thing? They're strengthening themselves. The Conservatives, are they becoming like, people jumping a sinking ship? Or is it looking as if they're just having a good clear out? How would you assess how the two parties come out of all of this?
I think for the moment, certainly the last 3 defections that we've seen to reform from the Conservative Party, Suella Braverman, Robert Jenrick, Andrew Rossendale, I think particularly because of the fact that these are pretty ideologically right-wing people, it doesn't look particularly opportunistic. Also, defections are historically a key part of any insurgent party. When the Labour Party was displacing the Liberal Party in the early 20th century, you saw, I think it was around 50 defections of MPs. When the SDP were trying to mount their challenge to break the mould and to break the two-party duopoly then, you saw about 30 MPs almost exclusively from Labour making the move over. So this is always part of the picture, and I think those kind of reflexive claims of, they just look like the Tory Party 2.0, that could stick if it looked like they were taking anyone, but I think at the moment things are holding up OK. The Tory Party, though, it's now essentially having a discussion about whether it wants to play second fiddle to Reform as the party of the right in this country, or to become a slightly less cringe version of the Lib Dems, which I think points to the fact that it's total irrelevance beckons for them unless they do something pretty drastic pretty quickly.
Can we touch on China? Front page of the Telegraph today. We know the Prime Minister's heading to Beijing. That is against a backdrop of this revelation that China has hacked the mobile phones of senior officials in Downing Street for years.
Yes, I mean, this is one of those things which I think many people suspect goes on, but to see it actually laid out in black and white is pretty shocking. I mean, these stories are coming from... this briefing is coming from US intelligence, and essentially suggesting that between 2021 and 2023, so the kind of Johnson-Sunak Truss era, that's not necessarily that the phones of the Prime Ministers themselves were hacked, but certainly various number 10 aides, and therefore that security was clearly compromised. We know that great powers do this all the time. I mean, there was that revelation more than 10 years ago now of Angela Merkel's phone being, compromised by the Americans. So it's not that this is anything new, but when there is so much concern, not just in the UK, but across the West, that maybe we've been a little bit too naive where China are concerned, that whilst we do have to do business with them, we shouldn't give them as easy access to our telecommunications and so on. This is going to put more pressure on the Prime Minister not to kowtow.
But Tom, why do we persevere? Why do we care what China think of us? I mean, if these are the bad guys and they're doing all these things, and we know they're doing all these things, this game that goes on, you want an embassy in London, yes, we'll give you that, and even though we know you're going to hack our phone lines and do all of this sort of thing, so you can hack us, but we'll hack you hacking us, so that it's unbelievable.
No, it is unbelievable, and it's because so much this is coming from a position of weakness, because of the fact that economically the government has no idea what to do, and they've really hoped, as many countries have, that some kind of investment from China or a trade deal with China might solve everything. That leads people to kowtow unnecessarily, and also just the extent to which I think a lot of governments, including our own, don't really have a clear vision of what foreign policy looks like. They haven't really had to think about these questions for a very long time. A lot of Western powers and foreign policy circles have been slightly asleep at the wheel. And now, given everything has changed, they're having to kind of play catch-up very quickly. This Labour government is the only one who's played this game before. The previous Tory governments also were desperate to try and strike this balance, but I think
Tom, good talking to you again. Thanks for your views throughout the morning. Much appreciated. Has Tom got you thinking? Has Tom got you talking? If you've got a situation, a solution to the Chinese, let us know and have your say. Get in touch and have your say, and we'll try and reflect that throughout the programme today.
Now, it's just coming up to 7:09, and today marks Holocaust Memorial Day, commemorating the 6 million Jewish victims of the Holocaust, alongside victims of other genocides. Well, today is also the 81st anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau, and is a day to honour those who suffered and died, ensuring that their stories are never forgotten. Well, we're joined now by Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs in Israel, Sharon Haskell. Very good morning to you, Sharon. A sad day, but an important day to remember the millions of people who died in one of the darkest chapters of our history.
Yes, absolutely. It's a very sad morning, a day where we remember what our families have been through and what had happened. The events that are happening during days that Jews, again, are unsafe. And that makes it even more severe and even sadder. Because whether it is in England or Australia, Canada or Belgium, Jews are being hunted. Their business is being targeted. You cannot walk in the streets being visibly Jewish. You have to hide your identity. Synagogues are being attacked. Places of worship are being attacked. Schools have been buffed up with security. I mean, if you look in the UK, Jewish schools are the only schools who need the security, and it is because they are unsafe. And I think that, just a week before the Holocaust Memorial Day, when Trump says that he will give asylum to Jews in the UK, is a terrible testament to where Jews are right now.
This event in human history, Sharon, I just am amazed that, OK, 80 years have passed or whatever, but people don't understand the significance of this in their history books, and that how they've lived life, how people have survived this as well. People who liberated these camps, the people who are in denial even that these camps ever existed. Sometimes it beggars belief.
We are living through one of the biggest events of Holocaust denial in the world. We have media and social media who are pushing different narratives, blood libels, real blood libels. I mean, when you look on the Second World War and how people truly fought for their freedom and what they needed to defeat the Nazi machine, they gave us freedom. And unfortunately, this younger generation received freedom on a silver platter. And in many cases, it takes it for granted. And right now, with so much indoctrination and blood libels and distortion of history and rewriting of history, it is just mind-blowing. And I think, we know that the Holocaust did not start with Auschwitz. It did not start with the gas chambers. It started with a demonization of Jews, with a discrimination of Jews. And unfortunately, what we see right now is a repeat of that history.
How do we break that cycle then? The theme of this year's Holocaust Memorial Day is bridging the generations, and you can imagine the way to bridge the generations is through education, because we are losing survivors, very sadly. Those numbers are dwindling, and we are left with their children and their grandchildren to tell their stories.
I think, first of all, that parents should take more charge of educating their children about it. I think there's been a huge distortion, whether it is in school and university. In some cases, they're not even studying the facts about that. I mean, we've seen a school in Texas, in America, where they actually teach about Hitler, and little children are painting and drawing Hitler, and it seems like a normal education class or something like that. So I think, first of all, there should be more parents' involvement in talking, reading books, helping them find the path. There are so many incredible documentaries about what had happened during the Second World War, before the Second World War. And there is much more that governments needs to do. They need to do more in legislations that protect minorities, that protects Jews, to make sure that blood will not be spilled in the streets, like what happened in Bondi or in Manchester or in many other cases.
Okay. Well, we think about you, we think about all Jewish people, and especially those who lost their lives on this.
Thank you.
not at all on this Holocaust Memorial Day. That was the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs in Israel there, Sharon Haskell.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Let us know what you think on this Holocaust Memorial Day. gbnews.com/you'll say. 14 minutes past 7 is the time.
OK, let's find out now about Storm Chandra and what's happening and if it's affected you out there today. So we can cross now to our Northern Ireland reporter, Dougie Beattie. Dougie, you're in Newton Ards this morning. No need to say, it's definitely hit. What's the effect, my friend?
Well, Eamonn, it definitely has hit. Ferry sailings have been cancelled in the Irish Sea. The Belfast Airport, City Airport, has also cancelled a lot of flights. And as this starts to hit in, I mean, this morning, about 5 o'clock, 5:30, driving down here on the Portaferry Road, there is huge flooding over the roads. I'm not sure if you can see that just behind us there, that this road has turned into an absolute river. And you can see that the lorries and so forth trying to go behind us. Of course, we're much further north than yous are, so it's still very, very dark here at this moment in time. But funny enough, there's one of Thompson's lorries going through. But you can see just how flooded these roads are. It's right over the wheels of the cars, and what's happening is that the water is running off the fields completely onto the roads and off the sea up onto the roads. So this Portaferry Road at this minute in time is very, very treacherous indeed. There is bits and pieces of trees down. I must say the wind isn't as bad as I've felt it before, but it's on the back of the rain that is really driving in towards us. And of course, this is just about the time that rush hour starts to begin. And we've noticed quite a lot of traffic coming up and down through here. And in fact, there's a car just, you can see the hazard lights on, has hit that flood and had to stop. So driving conditions very, very treacherous at this moment in time. And the wind's starting to pick up. But really, watch when you're out and about for that standing water on the sides of the roads. It tends to pull you in to the verge. And be very, very careful of tree branches, etc. down at the moment. As I say, not the same amount of winds, Eamonn, that will actually take those trees down onto the roads, but it no doubt is coming and coming quite quickly.
You're saying it's expected to get worse?
Yes, the winds are expected to get worse throughout the day. Amber warnings up towards the north east of Northern Ireland, in around Ballycastle, etc. But I mean, they are blustery enough at this time, but they're not those really damaging winds just yet. Up towards the north, where we will try to see what's happening throughout the day, maybe head up that direction a little bit towards Carrickfergus, on up towards Ballycastle and Portrush. But definitely at the moment, driving conditions very, very treacherous. Many schools in Northern Ireland are closed today, which is a bit of a surprise to me, Eamonn, because when we were youngsters going to school, we had to go in the snow, wind, rain. I mean, I remember standing at school radiators, big iron radiators, getting dried out as we got our way into school. So maybe not that good a thing for schools to be shut, but definitely, I mean, even that rain that's coming in, it's very fine rain. Driving in the wind is actually stinging me so hard in the face as it comes in towards us. So yes, we are in for a bumpy ride today in Northern Ireland. Having said that, last night, Plymouth and down around that area, we're getting this first. My daughter lives there, and I was speaking to her last night on the phone, and they were getting quite high winds and floods, etc. on railways and roads. So now, as daylight comes, dawn starts to break here, really, we're starting to see what is actually happening. And it is all down to driving. Be sensible when you're out there and driving. Do not come round a corner and think things are going to be just as they were. I mean, this morning there's about 6 or 7 floods the way down here. This is as far as we went, Eamonn, before we decided to stop and do this live.
Well, you stay safe, my friend, if you're driving to Carrickfergus or Ballycastle or whatever. I know you'll not stay dry. Most of those lorries have soaked you going past you this morning, but well braved, thank you very much. And it's that sort of wet rain, Dougie, isn't it? That sort of rain that's wet.
He's drenched.
He's drenched.
Oh, Dougie, you're a tough cookie.
I'm glad to hear you. I'm glad to hear you saying that, Eamonn, because people say rain's wet. This is a real drizzly rain, one that soaks you straight through. But lucky enough, we have our big dry robes on us. We're well prepared, and wet trousers, Wellington boots, the whole lot. I mean, if we could actually, if it was light enough, you can actually see the water running down behind us here. I'm actually standing in it, and the water's coming streaming down like a river off the lanes and fields beside us and out onto this road. And I mean, I don't know if you can actually see that or not. You can see the cars, brake lights on, and that flood is right out over the top of their wheels. Wow. So we will probably in the next hour or so stay on this Portaferry road to see what's happening and see how many people really want to come out and brave the storm.
Okay, well, thank you for getting out today and the sun coming up. Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Stay safe, Dougie.
You see, there's about 40 minutes difference between light in London and what's happening in Northern Ireland. So we'll be like about 30, 40 minutes behind, even though it's such a short distance before the light hits there.
It's obviously affecting Northern Ireland really badly this morning. So do let us know if you're there, how you're faring this morning. gbnews.com/you'll say. Dougie's made of tough stuff, isn't he? He's very good.
He's very good.
So thank you, Dougie, for bringing that to us.
Drying his underpants out. Amazing. What's happening? Let's go to Alex Burkle, the latest weather situation for you. Here it is.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good morning to you. This is your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. Storm Chandra is here. It's already brought some very heavy rain and it's going to continue to do so through today, as well as the risk of damaging winds. The strongest winds will be across parts of Northern Ireland. Eastern parts of Northern Ireland have the risk of gusts of around 70, 75 miles per hour and some significant disruption likely. Worth noting elsewhere, as the band of heavy rain pushes its way northwards, we're going to see some significant snow building up over higher ground of parts of northern England and also much of Scotland, and then elsewhere showers following in behind after a very wet night towards the southwest. Temperatures just about getting into double figures towards the south, much colder than this further north, all the while when it's so wet and so windy, well, it's going to feel much colder than those temperatures may suggest. So a wet end to the day across much of central, northern and eastern Scotland. Lots of snow falling and accumulating over the higher ground. That's going to cause some disruption. The strong winds and the heavy rain continues across Northern Ireland for a little while yet. Difficult conditions for the evening rush hour. Meanwhile, plenty of showers then feeding in from the south and west across much of England and Wales. Just some central eastern parts of England having a drier, clearer end to the day. Then as we go overnight, well, we start to see the influence of Storm Chandra clearing away. So the weather will be quietening down. There'll be some dry, clear weather across some central eastern parts of England, and that could allow for a touch of frost perhaps. Elsewhere, some rain towards the northeast of Scotland, some showery rain towards the southwest, and with that, temperatures not dropping as low where we have the cloud and the rain. Then Wednesday, actually, for a large chunk of the country, doesn't look too bad a day. Yes, a frosty start, but there will be some dry, even sunny weather around for many places, the exception being across eastern parts of Scotland, some wet, some wintry weather here, and also across much of Northern Ireland and at times parts of Wales and the southwest, where it will be cloudy and wet at times as well. Temperatures, well, similar to today, but feeling a bit more pleasant out of the rain.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock, only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
So the Prime Minister, he's off to Beijing to meet all the top people in China. And let's get a view of this. Chung-Ching Kwong is the senior analyst for the Interparliamentary Alliance on China. Could I have your take on this and how you see and why Keir Starmer is doing this?
I'd say I think it's not the best decision in the world at this point because, first of all, like if you look at what the Canadian PM came back with, there's lots of MOUs and it's not actually what we're looking for because back in the golden era, we have loads of these MOUs signed and how many of those actually yield? Not a lot. And those who actually yield are critical infrastructures projects like Jingye. And what happened to Jingye is taxpayers' money have to go in to rescue it and British workers are at risk. So I don't think it's actually going to save the UK's economy as they claim. At the same time, like what kind of growth are we looking for and at what cost? Not only is not going to yield, it's only going to put UK workers directly in competition with things like forced labor or worker exploitation, Chinese workers working 9 to 9, 6 days a week. Can we actually compete with that kind of thing? If you look at the prices of like Chinese like production website that is quite popular in the UK right now, you see we actually can't compete with that kind of thing because it is based on worker exploitation and overcapacity. So I don't think UK is actually going to benefit from this visit as much as we heard.
And it comes in the context of this controversial approval of the new Chinese embassy in London. Lots concerned about the communications cables that are running underneath that embassy. And now news today, front page of the Daily Telegraph today, China has hacked phones inside Number 10 for years. Are you shocked by this?
I'm not shocked. But also, I'm a bit surprised by it, to be honest, because it's not the first time these things have happened. We have had like state-sponsored cyber attacks against parliamentarians in the UK and all over the world in 2021. We have Chinese surveillance on Africa Union's data from that headquarters that they've helped build. We have surveillance in the Netherlands telecommunications company. So this is not a standalone event. If you read into the broader context, is that everything that we see right now is something that happened before and has been reported and documented before. I think people are just more aware of the threat of China poses to the world. And it is actually very bizarre to imagine that the UK Prime Minister, after learning the fact that we are actually, or he is actually being tapped on, and still decide to go to China without demanding accountability or any kind of response from the Chinese government. Like, these things cannot just happen like that. We can't just brush off the fact that you're being surveilled as the Prime Minister of the UK and then go to China, who actually surveilled you.
Well, thanks for setting the scene, Chung Ching. We'll leave it there. Thank you very much indeed.
A lovely
Thank you.
cat.
Thanks. We've got.
Did you see the lovely cat?
The what?
A lovely cat on her lap.
A cow?
A cat. Cat.
No.
A lovely fluffy cat.
I didn't see a cat.
Oh, it was lovely.
But you will see former England striker Emil Heskey coming into the studio, and he's talking about how to report abuse at football matches, OK? Talking with them about that live right after this.
Thank you for making us Britain's #1 news channel. Together, we have built something truly extraordinary.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A90 Forth Road Bridge remains closed to double-decker buses because of strong winds. On the M48, the bridge between Junction 1 Ost and Junction 2 Newhouse is closed both ways. In Somerset, a collision on the M5 northbound between Junction 22 and 21 has closed 2 out of 3 lanes, causing 20-minute delays. Near Surrey, a lane on the A3 northbound at the junction with the M25 is closed due to a broken-down vehicle. And on the trains, major disruption is impacting Transpennine Express services between Huddersfield and Manchester Victoria, with additional disruption on Avanti West Coast. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Paul's in the studio, but he's not alone. Special guest this morning.
Well,
Firstly, Cambridge play Shrewsbury tonight, which you might not think, well, is that significant? It is, because it's going to be the first game where there's a new app, a football safety app, that's going to be used to report any abuse that happens. Whether this is going to be a game that's full of that, I doubt, but it is groundbreaking, the fact that it's being used. So we've got a man that's promoting that, who just happens to be, you know what, you could well be the second most famous person in the studio, Eamonn. I'm just trying to say that. I think that might be a possibility.
Easily done.
I think, well, Liverpool, Leicester, England legend, the great Emil Heskey is here. How are you, Emil?
I'm good, thank you. Yourselves?
Good to see you, my friend.
Really good to see you.
Morning.
Yeah. So you're connected to this app. So, I mean, could you explain to us if you know, Paul and I and Ellie are going to a football match, how does this work?
Yeah, it's called a football safety app. It obviously does exactly what it says on the tin. You're going to a football match, and you got to remember, football doesn't start when you're actually in the stadium. It starts when you leave your house and you're going to a game. So you can report in stuff, whether you're on a train, whether you're travelling, whether you're walking to a stadium, anything that's happening in and around you. We all know that sometimes it can get a bit rowdy on the trains. I've been there before, stuck on the train before, and sometimes you struggle to report it. And this is a way of reporting what's going on and reporting it to police.
And Emil, have you ever been a victim of all of this?
Well, I've obviously had racial abuse at stadiums while playing, etc.
You know, you know what's sad? The fact that you said obviously.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just awful that it's obviously.
The interesting thing with that is I made my debut at 17. And we know what's going on, we see it, I've had it, and by the time I was finished, when I was playing, I was thinking, by the time I finished playing, it would change. It probably hasn't, it's probably just morphed into something else. We have the ability to get a hold of anyone, any time in our hands, with our mobile phones, with social media, with the social media companies. So it's just morphed into something else where we get a lot of abuse. We see it with the lads playing in the missing penalties, and then suddenly they're getting abused, etc. But that's still happening in the stadium, and it's not just racial abuse, it's bullying, it's sexual harassment, it's all sorts of harassment.
And all these things would qualify to be reported.
in the app. You basically just report, you can just click a button and it's instant.
See, we're saying about the fact that I know that players, and you mentioned about players getting abused, but the reason for this really is for people that are in the stands, right? And this is where it happens. So, because I'm imagining that in a situation, some people would say, you know, it's just football, you've got to let that go, which is not right.
This is the problem, though. We have we caveat it with, oh yeah, it's just football banter. But no, you then possibly have a person that loves football will stay away from it. I've worked within the women's game as well.
Me too, I've spoken to people that have said that as well.
Prevalent in the women's game now, whereas you've suddenly, the explosion of the WSL, now they've got 100,000, 200,000 followers, and people are just sending them abuse, and then they're abusing them from the stands, and they're just not, family members not really wanting to see that or hear that, so they don't come to the games.
Yeah. So how does it actually work? So when you're on the app, and I've got the app here, and I know it's got different sections, hasn't it? It's a different side of abuse, so you can touch it, you can press the right thing and maybe take a photograph, and it goes straight through. So is it dealt with there and then? Is there someone at the stadium it's going to go back to, and someone's going to find?
So in Cambridge aspect is it will come to a control panel in Cambridge Football Club.
Right.
Plus it will come to a control panel at us. Plus we're working with the police to make it go to them. So and then depending on how serious it is, that level will deal with it.
And is your hope that this app is going to be rolled out across all?
Yeah, we're hoping that is obviously the hope that it's going to be rolled out everywhere, so we can actually have somewhere. Because again, it's not just at the games. I know there's a part in there where you can click on the match and it tells you exactly which match you're at.
Yeah.
And then you click and then you can do that. Yeah. That's fine. But what if you're at a station? What if you're at a pub?
Yeah. And abuse doesn't take the form that a lot of people might think is obvious.
Yeah.
The thing that always gets me is it's men of our age, right, who turn on 11-year-olds because they've cheered because their team have scored. Honestly, I've witnessed, I've seen it all.
Turning on children.
And the interesting one with that you're saying is grassroots football. That's where we want to try and get in as well, because it's bad there as well. It's bad for the referees. It's bad for the commentators. It's bad for everyone. And the reality is, once you start looking at grassroots football, who's affected is the kids. The games are cancelled.
I mean, your boys, I mean, they're pros. They're playing at Man City. I know one is at Sheffield Wednesday now. So they're doing really well. But you must have seen this as they're coming up through the ranks, because, I mean, my son played to no real level, but I remember even at the small level, he's like a 7-year-old. I remember parents running on the pitch, going up to some 20-year-old referee. It's unbelievably bad.
And this is where you want to eradicate that there, because the reality is this. I'm a parent of it, but it's the parents that are ruining it for the kids. They just want to enjoy the game. They want to play with their mates. They want to form friendship groups from different. I played in obviously I'm from Leicester, but where I played was just on the outskirts of Leicester. So I had different friends groups. So every weekend I'd see a different friends group and mingle with them and get to know them. And take that away from you, it's devastating for kids.
Do you know, I think women's football has done a lot to make the situation better. I mean, you talk about women officials or whatever. Who would want to be a woman official at a game, a Premier League game? And yet, I think they're
I think the fans are as well, aren't they, generally, and hopefully that'll...
Look, when you go to a game, the games are brilliant. You'll get one or two fans and these are the one or twos that we need people to report this, because we don't want them at the game. We don't need them. We need everyone to enjoy the game. You want to... I know some of my friends don't go to games anymore. I only really went because I was playing, but and then you see the downside of it, and they say, I'm not coming anymore. But you want them to be able to enjoy it the way that I enjoy it.
So your message would be, if you see abuse, call it out, report it. Get this out.
It can be anonymous. You don't have to put your name to it. You can put your name to it if you want.
Listen, I've got one more quick one for you. This is probably more on a fun level. You mentioned about trains and pubs and stuff. What happens these days when you're on a train and maybe you've got United fans there? Is it generally okay? Oh, sorry, when I say United fans, I mean the good ones, obviously. They're all good. I'm not saying that there's any anti-Liverpool, Manchester United fans. But how is it? And do you sort of like sit there quietly, or how does that?
I'll be honest. They're usually fine with me. I've even been to the Everton Stadium, and they're usually okay. But again, you will get one or two.
But generally it's all
fine.
That's okay.
Emile, do you miss it? Do you miss playing?
No, I like watching.
Really?
No.
Do you never kick a football these days?
No, I do. I joined a local side, Wythenshawe. So there's about 6 or 7 ex-players that joined there and play Sunday League football over 35.
Is that fair? One of the other players
it's fair. I'm nearly 50, so it is fair. They're 38, 39. But, I tore my cartilage now.
Right, OK.
Emile, great seeing you.
Really is.
Yeah, so good to see you.
Good luck. How do people get this app?
Just download it on the app stores.
And it's called?
The Football Safety app.
Football Safety app. OK. Good man. I hope it works out for you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Good having you. And
thank you.
Good to see you.
Really good to see you. Thank you very much. Now, do stick with us. Still to come, the BBC are reported to use iPlayer to catch out on licence fee fraudsters. We're going to be going through that and much more in the papers with Christo Fufas and Chloe Dobbs. That's after the European weather.
Can't wait to get in that sea. Lovely and warm. Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's unsettled in the UK at the moment and very unsettled across southern parts of Europe. Storm Joseph is bringing some very heavy rain across parts of Portugal, Spain, also Gibraltar as we go through the rest of today and into tomorrow. We're talking 50 to 100 millimetres of rain in just 24 hours. And it's similarly unsettled further east around Italy and neighbouring nations. A huge amount of rain coming, the risk of thunder, also some significant snow building up. More unsettled weather to come through this week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
After portraits of Lawrence of Arabia were given trigger warnings. The gallery has flagged images of Lawrence wearing traditional Arab dress, saying they may differ from today's attitudes and reflect views of their time.
That's just absurd, isn't it? Here we go again, a trigger warning as if we're not adult enough to make up our minds as to what we want to watch, whether we'll be offended by that. Why would you be offended about that?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, I can sort of understand in some contexts warning some audiences if they're about to see something that is horrendous, if they're about to see gore, death,
flashing images,
flashing
cameras, there
is some context. So, but this is just a chap in a headdress. I mean, what's wrong with that?
I don't know what's wrong with it. I mean, do we have more pictures of him? I just don't get it. What would you be offended by? What is it? The thing round his head is too tight? Or
I think it's...
What is it? I don't understand.
But this is the whole idea of cultural appropriation.
Oh, I see.
As if people can't wear clothes of other cultures. But the thing about T.E. Lawrence is he was an Arabist. He adored that part of the world. And many people there adored him too. In some ways, why is this any different to the people who wear the kaffirs, you know, the Palestinian sort of neckerchiefs that people wear on protests? Should we attach trigger warnings to those people too?
I mean, you could perhaps attach a trigger warning to me and my wig. I think I'm culturally appropriating somebody who's white because my hair's long, and most people of colour don't have their hair as long as I don't know. It just seems that we can't respect and just understand something of the time.
GB News, the People's Channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Looking through the papers, talking about stories making the news today. Chloe Dobbs and Crystal Foufas. We're delighted to have both of them here. And a lot of people should be delighted they've got grandchildren. Chloe, why is that?
Well, there's been this study done on 3,000 grandparents where they tested those that look after their grandkids and those who don't on their memory and their verbal fluency. And they found it made a quite drastic impact. In fact, they found that over a period of 6 years, they tested them every year, that the verbal fluency of grandparents that take care of their grandkids actually improved. And the rate of memory
Not
decline...
the children, you're talking about the adults.
The adult, yes.
I thought you'd be talking about the verbal fluency of the children.
Well, maybe that improves as well, but that wasn't in this study.
Yeah.
But this is really interesting at a time when so few grandkids get to spend time with their grandparents these days. It used to be the case that you grow up in a community and all of your family, all the generations all live in the same place and you can all help out with the childcare. But now so many people, they go and they live in London, they leave their family behind and they're really struggling with all this expensive childcare and the grandparents don't get a chance to really spend time with those grandkids, and it can really have a positive impact.
Well, my world becomes smaller through Instagram and watching films and things that are sent to me, and I've never once watched a film about them that I don't smile. And, you know, I've got a stretch of water between me and my grandchildren. But
I think it makes you feel young again. Being around young people, it makes you feel young,
good,
youthful. And especially if you're playing with the kids, you're getting up, you're moving around, you're getting active as
you see, as a parent, as you'll know, looking after your kids can be stressful and you're doing the right thing and whatever. And then looking after your grandchildren, you're detached from it a bit. It's much more fun. Much more fun, I think.
Well, that's my parents. My mum is 77, my dad's 78. They have my niece, so their granddaughter, who is 9 or 10. They have her 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And they are
They look
running
forward to
around
that,
like
do they?
absolutely. I mean, it's hard work.
Yeah.
But they love it, but they are running around like they're completely like they're with it. So I agree with this. I think this is
we all agree with
true.
this. Then that's good. Christo, Telegraph. The BBC, they're using the iPlayer to catch you if you're a licensed fraudster. How are they able to do that?
What they want to do, anyone who watches live TV or you sign into iPlayer on your television, they ask you if you've got a TV license.
They do.
But you need to have an account. You need to have given your email address and you need to have logged in order to be on iPlayer. Well, apparently, the BBC, what they want is, in order to try and crack down on households that don't have licence fees, because you can just say yes whether you've got a licence fee or not, they want to harvest the information on your postcode from the account you've created to then cross-check it against the licence fee list to see whether you're actually telling the truth. It's all part of the BBC trying to come up with ways in which they can try and clamp down on licence fee evaders. But a lot of people are saying, well, hang on, even if they manage to cross-check it and they find that someone's not being honest, you just don't let in the licence fee people that come and knock on your door anyway, because there's no legal obligation to let them in. So you can still get away with it. And I think it still exposes, and Jacob Rees-Mogg, of course, who is on this channel, former business secretary, has said, look, you need to just have a paywall. You can't keep fiddling around the edges on trying to push custard up a hill on this outdated way of trying to finance the BBC. You've got to come up with something better.
I tell you, Chloe, what I'm going to say. I think it costs 175 quid or so for your TV licence. Peanuts compared to pay channels. Peanuts compared to Netflix or Amazon Prime or...
but I don't think that's the point.
Disney. But I think it is. I think it is the point. I think everybody is worried about, they're charging you this. Have you seen what the rest of them are charging?
I don't care whether the licence fee is £20 a year. What I care about is that I don't have a choice. I would pay. I choose to pay for it, but I don't have a choice.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I cancelled my Netflix subscription recently because I'm not watching anything on Netflix at the moment. But when it comes to the BBC, if you're not watching anything on the BBC at the moment, you can't say, I'm just going to cancel it for a few months.
I don't give money to Tesco when I go and shop in Sainsbury's.
Exactly.
Because that's my decision. If I go and shop in Sainsbury's, I pay Sainsbury's. I don't have to give Tesco a cut of it.
Yeah. Chloe, let's have a look at pubs, shall we? And we're hearing in the Telegraph today that pub support from Rachel Reeves is only going to be temporary.
Yes, so we had a couple of weeks ago, after there's been a lot of outrage about the just complete disregard for pubs from the Chancellor and this government. They've suffered so much, minimum wage hikes, national insurance hikes, now, of course, this big business rates increase, which Rachel Reeves, when speaking in Parliament, didn't seem to know how big the increase was going to be on pubs. She thought that the average was going to be 4%, but it's actually 15% that people are going to experience in the spring, and it's going to go up on average 76% over 3 years. So they announced after this backlash that there would be some sort of measures to help pubs a couple of weeks ago, but there was just no detail whatsoever. And now we're expecting an announcement today with a bit more detail about that, but we're hearing it's just going to be a little bit of temporary relief to lessen the blow of what is going to be an absolutely huge business rates increase. And there's been another story out in The Sun today suggesting that 21 pubs a week are going to be closing down. We've just had the pub chain Revolution go into administration. It's not something in the future that we're speculating about pubs closing down. It's happening, and it's happening
Right
fast.
Can we say a quick word on the Beckhams? Because they are the front page of many of the papers today, aren't they?
They have their first, and they're on the Times, on many of them, their first sort of united front, first public appearance since Brooklyn cut ties, and so...
and it was a united front, wasn't it?
It was, with the girlfriends, who all look suspiciously like Victoria, I have to say.
I did notice that myself this morning, yes.
They all look like their mother. But, they all went to Paris for their first public appearance since eldest son Brooklyn cut ties. Who's Team Brooklyn, who's Team Beckham?
Team Beckham.
I've been on the fence in this. I want to see the footage of the dancing.
We all want to
before
see
I
that footage.
make my
Yeah,
mind
that
up.
is footage that needs to
We're
be
all
released
waiting
in the public
for
interest.
it. We need to see it.
I think it's a very sad situation on all sides, though, isn't it? I mean, to lose contact with your parents.
And I get, look, I think they all come out of this looking absolutely vile, to be quite honest. But yeah, it's not nice, and it will rumble on, no doubt.
Okay. OK, Christo, Chloe, thank you very much indeed. Keep those views coming in on any of those stories, gbnews.com/yours say. But for now, let's get a check on the weather with Alex Burkill.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good morning to you. This is your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. Storm Chandra is here. It's already brought some very heavy rain and it's going to continue to do so through today, as well as the risk of damaging winds. The strongest winds will be across parts of Northern Ireland. Eastern parts of Northern Ireland have the risk of gusts of around 70, 75 miles per hour and some significant disruption likely. Worth noting elsewhere, as the band of heavy rain pushes its way northwards, we're going to see some significant snow building up over higher ground of parts of northern England and also much of Scotland, and then elsewhere showers following in behind after a very wet night towards the southwest. Temperatures just about getting into double figures towards the south, much colder than this further north, all the while when it's so wet and so windy, well, it's going to feel much colder than those temperatures may suggest. So a wet end to the day across much of central, northern and eastern Scotland. Lots of snow falling and accumulating over the higher ground. That's going to cause some disruption. The strong winds and the heavy rain continues across Northern Ireland for a little while yet. Difficult conditions for the evening rush hour. Meanwhile, plenty of showers then feeding in from the south and west across much of England and Wales. Just some central eastern parts of England having a drier, clearer end to the day. Then as we go overnight, well, we start to see the influence of Storm Chandra clearing away. So the weather will be quietening down. There'll be some dry, clear weather across some central eastern parts of England, and that could allow for a touch of frost perhaps. Elsewhere, some rain towards the northeast of Scotland, some showery rain towards the southwest, and with that, temperatures not dropping as low where we have the cloud and the rain. Then Wednesday, actually, for a large chunk of the country, doesn't look too bad a day. Yes, a frosty start, but there will be some dry, even sunny weather around for many places, the exception being across eastern parts of Scotland, some wet, some wintry weather here, and also across much of Northern Ireland and at times parts of Wales and the southwest, where it will be cloudy and wet at times as well. Temperatures, well, similar to today, but feeling a bit more pleasant out of the rain.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for helping us reach 10 million followers across our social media platforms. We're truly honoured to have your trust, one follower at a time.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Drivers on the slip road from the M73 southbound at Junction 1 to the M74 northbound at Junction 4 face restrictions due to a traffic collision. Anti-clockwise delays on the M25 are causing 30-minute hold-ups between Junction 30 and Junction 29 in Greater London Authority. In Thurrock, lane closures due to a road incident on the M25 anti-clockwise between Junction 1A and Junction 31 are causing further restrictions. And on the trains, TransPennine Express reports disruptions between Huddersfield and Manchester Victoria, along with Avanti West Coast delays between Bramhall and Stoke-on-Trent. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest cash prize winner to date, as there's a simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash to be won. Go on that dream holiday, buy that brand new car, or just relax in the knowledge that the rest of the year could be on us. But you have to hurry, as lines close on Friday the 30th of January. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
A really important thing about GB News, and it's brought something completely different to the landscape.
The mainstream is all about keeping the status quo as it is, ticking along quite nicely. They don't want to ask difficult questions.
GB News exists because there is a desperate need for fearless journalism that puts the people first.
GB News came on the scene as a disruptor, and it has always been a disruptor ever since.
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, the reality is that most British journalists are afraid. That's not GB News.
Journalism is journalism at the end of the day, and we're not here to serve any masters. Our masters are our audience.
We're here to talk about things in a way that have never been broadcast on British airways before.
Do not miss a moment on GB News.
The #1 news channel in the country.
The Tories backtrack on their mental health jibe at Suella Braverman.
Yes, it comes as the former Home Secretary becomes the latest defector to Reform UK.
Nigel Farage has hit back, claiming attacks from the Tories will only worsen. So are we witnessing the return of gutter politics?
Elsewhere today, as the Prime Minister prepares to meet Chinese leaders in Beijing, we're debating, is it right for the Prime Minister to seek to strengthen those ties with China?
Brace yourselves, Storm Chandra. We're reporting on that this morning, and it's going to hit a lot of the country, particularly the West and Northern Ireland, and warnings for wind and rain have been issued.
It's a very unsettled day ahead with heavy rain, strong winds, also some hill snow. Stick around to find out what you're going to get.
Today is National Holocaust Memorial Day, and we're going to be reflecting on those who suffered and died during one of the darkest periods in our history that saw 6 million Jewish people systemically murdered by the Nazis.
We'll be speaking to these three rowers. Amazing what they've done. They've made history as the youngest team to ever row across the ocean, in their case, the Atlantic.
We're going to be discussing the Beckham family as they show a united front in Paris just 1 week after Brooklyn Beckham took to social media.
And sport this morning, Everton get booed at half-time during their game against Leeds, which ends up 1-1. An inquest finds that heading footballs likely contributed to the late Gordon McQueen's brain disease. No more wrist devices are allowed for Yannick Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz.
Hello there, very good morning. Thank you for your company. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast. It is pouring down outside, isn't it?
Horrible.
Absolutely awful. And poor Dougie Beattie, lots of you very concerned about Dougie Beattie's welfare, saying that we need to get him wrapped up in a blanket, that we need to give him a nice cup of tea. Don't worry.
It was wet.
He's a tough cookie, is our Dougie.
I say leave him outside. That's what he's there for, isn't it?
Adrian says, poor Dougie, please go and sit in the dry and have a weed ram.
Marion says, we've got a power cut here in Herefordshire. Esme says, please, can somebody get Doogie Beattie a hot drink and some dry clothing? He's drenched and I'm so worried about him. We love Doogie. He is a national treasure.
Wow. I mean, he was standing in that road and it was just the lorries going through the puddles. And
I can't watch it.
Puddles were just being transferred.
It's the fact they're going as they're going past, and then the other one goes over the top.
Bless him. He's very good, is our Doogie. He's very tough. But don't worry, he is OK. I think he's actually secretly enjoying himself as well out there, isn't he? Anyway, let's get into politics and talk to Shadow Business and Trade Secretary Andrew Griffith is here from the Conservatives. Very good morning to you, Mr Griffith.
Good morning.
Good morning. Do you apologise on behalf of the Tories for that statement that you put out about Suella Braverman referencing her mental health?
Yeah, I think that was wrong. You know, I went into politics after a career in business because of people's ideas, you know, ideas about how we can make our country great again, how today we can help the myriad of small businesses on our high street in the face of Labour's attack on business rates. So it shouldn't be about people's individual characteristics. I think it was wrong. The party withdrew that and said it was a mistake.
Yeah. Do you know, Andrew, I always love when politicians talk about real issues, issues that affect people. And in this case, you're talking about business rates, which affect people who are trying to set up shops and businesses on the high street, and they are suffering. And when our high streets suffer, we suffer as well.
Yeah, it's just atrocious, actually. It's as bad as the weather, you know, on the high streets. Businesses are just bleeding out, and it's not just pubs, it's hotels, it's hair salons, it's music venues, it's pharmacies, post offices. The Chancellor's made a really big mistake. I don't think she understood fully the impact of the revaluation of business rates. We Conservatives have called for 250,000 of our smallest businesses to be taken out of business rates entirely. It's a really bad cost on the business. They're dealing with higher wage costs, subdued consumer demand because we're all paying higher energy bills, and it's incredibly tough. And she just made it much, much tougher. So we're calling for a full U-turn. I think what we're going to hear today is a sticking plaster. You know, on her way to the airport to fly off to China again, she's going to toss a packet of Band-Aids out the window when actually people are in the casualty ward bleeding out.
Can I take you back to that statement on Suella Braverman? Not only has it been described as nasty politics, gutter politics, weaponising a person's mental health struggles, so big questions about how appropriate it was, but also questions about how organised you are at Tory HQ, and perhaps this is indicative of the incompetence within the Tory operation. If it was so clear, as you say that it is in the statement, that she was going to defect, it was a case of when, not if, is a direct quote from that statement, then shouldn't that have been approved a long time in advance? Instead, that statement was put up and left there for 2 hours.
Look, with the best will in the world, I don't run central office. I'm here to speak up for 6.5 million small businesses across the country. I've said that I thought it was a mistake, and I was pleased that it was retracted. Human beings do make mistakes of all kinds. And look, I think the Conservative Party, though it's had its difficulties in government and in recent years, is back. There's a seriousness about what we're trying to do. We're talking about the hard choices, which was one of the reasons why in office not everything that should have been done was done, because people weren't telling the truth, they weren't willing to make the trade-offs. When we talk about how we would make life better for small businesses, we're identifying the red tape we'd cut, the welfare that we would reform, so that there's money, so they don't have to have increases in business rates or employment taxes or all of the other things that are just a headwind for those businesses.
It's a huge defection to Reform UK, losing Suella Braverman. At the rate at which you're hemorrhaging talent, how concerned are you about who's going to be left in the Tory party?
Well, look, I'm enormously concerned about the future of our country. The reason I'm in the Conservative Party is I think they are the most effective force, the deepest bench strength, and if we work hard and hold this government to account, as we've done with forcing U-turns, now 15 on so many issues, from Chagos to the winter fuel allowance, then we can do our job, we can serve our apprenticeship. The British people, I hope, will see that if you want a party or a government that's serious about growing the economy, then we are the party that can do that. I'm not here to criticise other parties. I'm pleased that running our great country is a competitive domain. People have choices, but I'm very serious about trying to articulate why the Conservatives are the best choice.
And just finally, can we touch on China? This story at the front page of the Daily Telegraph today. China hacked the phones in number 10, not necessarily the Prime Minister's, but the top aides in number 10 for years, the paper has revealed this morning. And this we know as the Prime Minister is off to Beijing. Is it appropriate that he takes that trip? And are you concerned about our closer ties with China, considering these stories that we keep hearing so much about?
Yeah, I'm very concerned by these reports. I think we need to be very clear-eyed. We've been told time and time again from intelligence services and others that China is a threat, that they are conducting espionage in the United Kingdom. And I just don't think, although we should trade with China, I don't think it's a good look that when the Prime Minister is on the ropes, when he's been exposed for his weak Chagos deal, giving up British sovereign territory that has very serious security implications, when Jimmy Lai is still in a Chinese prison, that he's running off to China at this particular moment in time, when there's really big issues like the state of the economy, like our high streets, work that needs to be done here at home.
OK, Andrew, thank you very much indeed for that. Andrew Griffith is the Shadow Business and Trade Secretary, speaking to us live from Westminster now. Thank you, Andrew. Catherine Forster, our political correspondent, our chief political correspondent, here to give her view on what Andrew Griffith had to say there.
Well, I think unfortunate timing for the government that these allegations that China has hacked phones in number 10 Downing Street itself, not necessarily the Prime Minister's phones, but people very close to Boris Johnson, Rishi Sunak and indeed Liz Truss. The Prime Minister today is getting on a plane with a whole load of business leaders and the Chancellor and I think the Business Secretary as well on this mission to China. The government, of course, are desperate to get growth. They promised us that. They said it was their #1 mission. We're not having much of it. The Prime Minister giving an interview last night saying, look, I am not going to choose between the European Union and America and China. We've got to interact with China. We don't have a choice. But the Chinese haven't approved the British embassy in Beijing. The current one is literally said to be falling apart. We, last week, I think it was, gave approval to this massive, mega Chinese embassy in the heart of the City of London, just a metre from critical cables. So I think there'll be a lot of concern about that. On Suella Braverman, I was there at this veterans rally when that defection came. We knew that she was likely to be the next one to go. We thought for a long time it was very likely. Still, we didn't expect it yesterday, and it does add up, doesn't it, to a pattern. I think there's been 4 Conservative or former Conservative MPs gone over to Reform in the last 2 weeks. Nadine Zahawi, who currently doesn't have a seat, Robert Jenrick, who does, Andrew Rosendale, who does, and Suella Braverman. So it adds to the momentum that Reform have got. The Conservatives taking this very steady as she goes approach. They think that they can win ultimately on the economy, but what a battle it's going to be.
Catherine, got to just interrupt you there because Steve Reid, the Housing Secretary, is now available at Westminster. Steve, morning to you. Sorry it's so inclement for you, but we'll do our best to get through all this.
It is a bit, but it's good to be.
Good man.
It's always good to be with you, Eamonn, despite the horrible weather.
Yeah. Tell me this, Steve, what about the Chinese and this meeting with them? How do we deal with the Chinese? What's the mood going to be like around that table? I tend to think we're all very respectful, maybe too respectful to the Chinese, but then maybe I'm wrong. Are we frightened of them?
Well, I think, I think we need to cooperate where we can, but challenge where we must.
Yeah.
China's the second biggest economy on the planet now, and there are, I think it's around 370,000 jobs in the UK are directly dependent on trade with China. So we shouldn't do anything to put those people's incomes, wages and livelihoods at risk. And we should make sure that we've got a fair trading arrangement with China. So the Prime Minister's going over to Beijing and Shanghai, as I understand it. A lot of British business leaders are going with him because they want to grow their businesses by doing trade with China as well, because it means jobs and it means wages and it means economic growth here at home. But it's always going to be eyes wide open. We know the risks that China can pose in terms of security. We're working with the security services to make sure that we always manage those risks and put British security first. But when you've got an economic giant like China, we would be crazy to say, no, we're not going to have the jobs, we're not going to have the investment, we're not going to have the wages that will benefit British people at home.
Was this trip by the Prime Minister to Beijing determined by you giving the green light to this controversial super embassy in London for the Chinese?
No, not at all. In fact, the UK is looking to build a new UK embassy in Beijing. This is what countries do from time to time. If you have relations with a foreign, if you have relations with a foreign country, then we have an embassy in their capital. They have an embassy in our capital. Now, of course, I've heard I think it's scaremongering, to be honest, about the Chinese embassy in London. Of course, we need to be alive to the security risks. That's why we have security services. But they have made very, very clear it is better for UK security to have the Chinese embassy in one location than 7 different locations, which is how it is currently. So the security services expressed no unreasonable concerns about relocating the Chinese in one embassy. In fact, they think it's better than 7 different sites. And I think that piece of information doesn't get across often enough.
Is it scaremongering, though, when we're looking at the front page of the Daily Telegraph this morning, revelations from US intelligence that China hacked phones inside Number 10, not necessarily the Prime Minister, but aides and senior staff very close to Prime Ministers, in Number 10 for years. So we know that they've been hacking the phones of Number 10 for years. There's concerns about this embassy and those critical data and communication cables running underneath it. Why then is the Prime Minister choosing now of all times to cozy up to China? Is he putting a potential trade deal over national security here in Britain?
Absolutely not. We are very alive to the security risks of China and the Chinese, and that's why the government's invested an extra £170 million in cyber security so that we can protect British businesses, British government from any attempt to eavesdrop by the Chinese. But as I said earlier on, the security services say that we can keep an eye on China better if their embassy is in one location rather than 7 different locations as at the moment. I mean, you can understand that because you have to monitor 7 different places. That's a lot more effort by the security services than knowing that they're in one place. Now, having said that, always eyes wide open when it comes to national security, but China's also the second biggest economy on the planet. 370,000 British jobs depend on it. We're not going to throw those people on the scrap heap and tell them they can't have a job anymore. We have to trade with China, but we do it eyes wide open. National security is always paramount, as it should be.
Yeah, Steve, I'm looking at the weather there, and you're brolly blowing about, and I'm thinking, there you are. You are the
trying to
housing.
Hold on, Eamonn.
Yeah, you are the housing secretary, and I think about people who have to go out there and build houses, and I know you've got this ambitious house building programme. It will be easily delayed on a day like that. That's what happens. How's it going for you?
Well, we've just, the housing sector has been flatlining for years. Since about 2023, we've seen really low levels of house building going on. In part, that's because the previous government scrapped the house building targets. Now, we've changed the law already to speed up the planning process so that we can get applications through the system faster, with the public still being able to have their say about what's being put forwards, but we're just starting to see things turning around. So figures I saw last week, it's that current, showed that the starts on new house building has gone up 18% compared to a year ago. That's nearly a fifth. Now, that's starting to turn the corner. We want it to go much further than that, of course we do, but we are starting to see that change now. So I'm optimistic about where we're going with this. Speaking to mortgage lenders as well, they're telling me now there are more mortgage products available for borrowers than has been the case for 18 years. Now, that is the case of these lenders responding to demand from people that are looking for a mortgage. So, very early days, Eamonn. I'm not going to oversell it, but we are starting to see things turn the corner.
That mortgage issue is a big issue because today a lot of people come out of a 5-year fixed deal that they had, and so they may have been paying 2% and they'll now be expected to pay 4% or whatever. So how the markets play with the money people have got available is vital.
Oh, it's vital. You know, our homes are for most people the biggest investment, biggest purchase they will ever make, and it's more than an investment. Of course, it's your home. It's where you live. It's your security. You know, thanks to the changes that we've made in managing the economy, we've seen 6 interest rate cuts in a row now. That has reduced the cost of mortgages. That is one of the reasons people are out there and looking for mortgages, looking to buy a new home. In some cases, get their first foot on that housing ladder that I was able to do in my early 30s, but for so many young people today, it had become something of an impossible dream. Well, I want to make that dream a reality. That's why we're determined to get the homes built.
Steve, just wanted to ask you another thing. I mean, I think on Sunday you were over all the news programmes talking about Andy Burnham and why the National Executive thought that he shouldn't be standing as an MP. Has he phoned you? Has he spoken to you? Have you spoken to him?
I haven't yet. I mean, I speak to Andy very, very regularly. I was up there with him only a couple of weeks ago, and, you know, I know firsthand that Andy Burnham is doing an outstanding job as the Mayor of Greater Manchester. But in the Labour Party's rule book, because a mayor standing down, whether it's in Manchester or anywhere else, to fight a parliamentary by-election would trigger a by-election for the mayoralty, that in Manchester's case is the equivalent of 20 constituencies. Now, people voted for Andy in Greater Manchester 2 years ago to serve a 4-year term. He has to seek permission to change his mind and stand for Parliament. On this occasion, the NEC decided it was in the best interest of the public in Greater Manchester that he continues to serve his term, and we select a different candidate for
Mr. Reid,
the by-election.
you all appreciate we're in an...
So I can hear you, Eamonn.
You'll appreciate we're in an election period now, so we'll just be very careful about any chat about by-elections. But in terms of threats to Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister looks very weak now, doesn't he? We've got 13 U-turns and counting. Now, we had number 10 briefing against Wes Streeting just before Christmas. We've now got the very popular Andy Burnham being blocked from returning to Westminster. Got a rebellion brewing in the Labour Party. Many would say this is the acts of a weak Prime Minister who's trying to cripple his rivals, who many would also say would do a better job than him as Prime Minister. Is he putting his personal ambition before what's right for the party and right for the country?
I'll tell you what we're not going to do, and that's repeat what the Tories did, where they kicked out their Prime Ministers. Remember that revolving door of chaos we had, where we had one Prime Minister after another, after another, after another, absolutely no consistency in what they were doing. It led to them crashing the economy, putting people's mortgage costs up, ending house building. You know, people didn't get a wage rise for over 10 years. We're not going to do that game. Look what's happened to the Tories because of what they did. They've collapsed. There are now more members of Liz Truss's cabinet in Reform UK than on Kemi Badenoch's front bench. The Tory party has all but died. So we're not going to do that, and we're going to focus outward on the interests of the British people. We're not going to navel gaze. And we're going to stay the course because we're seeing the economy growing now. We're seeing wages rising faster than prices for the first time in 10 years, and we're seeing NHS waiting lists fall at the fastest rate for 15 years. So change is happening, and we're going to keep driving it.
And just finally, Mr. Reid, your thoughts on the statement issued by the Tory party yesterday on Suella Braverman's defection to Reform UK, which referenced her mental health. What did you make of that statement?
Well, you know, whatever you think of Suella Braverman, I'm not a fan. I think that was outrageous. I think I mean, who knows what the truth here is, but if somebody has or hasn't got mental health issues, you should never use that to attack them. It's unfair on the individual, and it's unfair on the many people in this country who experience mental ill health. I think it was a really low blow from the Conservatives. They were absolutely wrong to do it, and they shouldn't have done.
Steve, we'll let you get some shelter. Thanks very much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Talking to you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks for braving the rain for us, Mr. Reid. Well, talking about the weather, let's have a look at the full picture, shall we, with Alex Burkle.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good morning to you. This is your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. Storm Chandra is here. It's already brought some very heavy rain, and it's going to continue to do so through today, as well as the risk of damaging winds. The strongest winds will be across parts of Northern Ireland. Eastern parts of Northern Ireland have the risk of gusts of around 75 miles per hour and some significant disruption likely. Worth noting, elsewhere, as the band of heavy rain pushes its way northwards, we're going to see some significant snow building up over higher ground of parts of northern England and also much of Scotland, and then elsewhere showers following in behind after a very wet night towards the southwest. Temperatures just about getting into double figures towards the south, much colder than this further north, all the while when it's so wet and so windy, well, it's going to feel much colder than those temperatures may suggest. So a wet end to the day across much of central, northern and eastern Scotland. Lots of snow falling and accumulating over the higher ground. That's going to cause some disruption. The strong winds and the heavy rain continues across Northern Ireland for a little while yet. Difficult conditions for the evening rush hour. Meanwhile, plenty of showers then feeding in from the south and west across much of England and Wales. Just some central eastern parts of England having a drier, clearer end to the day. Then as we go overnight, well, we start to see the influence of Storm Chandra clearing away. So the weather will be quietening down. There'll be some dry, clear weather across some central eastern parts of England, and that could allow for a touch of frost perhaps. Elsewhere, some rain towards the northeast of Scotland, some showery rain towards the southwest, and with that, temperatures not dropping as low where we have the cloud and the rain. Then Wednesday, actually, for a large chunk of the country, doesn't look too bad a day. Yes, a frosty start, but there will be some dry, even sunny weather around for many places, the exception being across eastern parts of Scotland, some wet, some wintry weather here, and also across much of Northern Ireland and at times parts of Wales and the southwest, where it will be cloudy and wet at times as well. Temperatures, well, similar to today, but feeling a bit more pleasant out of the rain.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
And it's a lovely time on this dreary morning to give you something to smile about, something to look forward to. Imagine if you were to win our Great British Giveaway.
There's only 4 days left to see how you could win, as our biggest cash prize to date is up for grabs, an incredible £85,000, and it really could be yours. That's tax-free cash to spend all throughout 2026. What would you do with £85,000? But you have to hurry, as lines close at 4 p.m. on Friday. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News week commencing 9th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck. Now, do stay with us. Still to come, it is Holocaust Memorial Day today, and we're going to remember the 6 million Jewish people murdered by the Nazis. And we're going to look at the reasons why fewer schools are choosing now to mark the day. That's next on GB News Breakfast with Eamonn and Ellie.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other.
So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, 2026 has already got off to a fascinating start in politics, but what might be next? With us now in the studio is impressionist Tony Lapidus. Well, Tony, very nice to have you here. Thank you.
Great to see you. We've introduced you as Tony, but I think you might also be Sir Keir Starmer for the moment. And Sir Keir, looking back on 2025, what's your most memorable occasion from the year and your proudest achievement?
Well, look, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. I really do appreciate it. It means so much to me. There have been so many achievements. Namely, one of the most important ones was when Donald Trump invited me up in the Sharm el-Sheikh summit and then told me to retreat like a little boy to the corner. It was a projection of such leadership. And the British people voted for a strong leader, and I think I conveyed that.
Accusations made against you about what you were like in your school days at Dulwich. How have you responded to those accusations?
Oh, well, they're not true. They're not true at all. Isn't it funny that people would bring something up from so many decades ago? At the end of the day, what I did when I was younger, I deny it all, by the way, but what I did, I never said anything nastily. I remember one chap, and he wrote me an email recently. He said, you used to call me overweight. And I did, but I did it to do him a favour. And you know what? He said in the end, he couldn't get a job because he lost so much weight and they stuck him in a mental asylum.
Oh, well, first of all, that's a stupid question, isn't it? You're a stupid guy, aren't you? You're beautiful, by the way. You're a beautiful guy. You're a beautiful woman, excuse me, but I will say that's a stupid, dumb question because it's been one of the most unbelievable... probably the best year that anybody's ever seen, even though we're in January. You know that. You know she knows that. She loves this. She absolutely loves it. But yeah, it's going to be so much better, and we're going to do a lot more invasion.
Five hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome back to Breakfast. It's 29 minutes past 8. Now, today marks Holocaust Memorial Day, commemorating the 6 million Jewish victims of the Holocaust, alongside victims of other genocides.
This is the 81st anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz, and a day to honour those who suffered and died, ensuring their stories are not forgotten. We're joined now by co-chair of UK Holocaust Memorial Foundation and former UK Special Envoy for post-Holocaust issues, and that's Lord Pickles. Good morning. Good morning. Very good to have you.
Very good morning. It's very nice to be here.
And how important is today, and that today is commemorated?
Well, it's massively important. I mean, these particular ones are likely to be the last commemorations when anybody who experienced the Holocaust saw the stacks, smelt their relatives going up, saw their family destroyed, and having been in schools and listened to Holocaust survivors talk about their experience, even in the most unruly classroom, you can hear a pin drop. And we lose an awful lot when that testimony goes. And obviously we're making plans to ensure that it's that testimony continues through technology, and also through the preservation of sites and of objects.
And this year's Holocaust Memorial Day, Lord Pickles, feels particularly pertinent, doesn't it, considering Manchester, considering Bondi and the rising anti-Semitism that we're seeing in this country?
You're absolutely right. I mean, it almost seems like last year was just a succession of wake-up calls, which my fellow politicians would wake up, make a number of statements, and then we just seem to go back to sleep again. And I can't help but feel that this country, along with the rest of Europe, is just walking into disaster. And we've allowed anti-Semitism to become the norm. We've allowed people on our streets to call for the death of Jews, and we've rather emboldened extremism. And as you probably will recall, we learnt in early December of a plan to commit mass murder in the United Kingdom, and those two people are now fortunately in jail.
But Lord Pickles, how do you go about correcting that?
Well, I think you've got to. But everything we do has got to be based on facts. Everything we do has got to be based on the reality. I mean, the one big change that will occur is that we're seeing the Holocaust right now largely through the eyes of children, because those are the only ones that are alive.
Yeah.
And of course, all the other testimony. Now, I've just stepped down as chairman of the International Holocaust Alliance, and as part of that process, I negotiated a deal whereby we're going to have what's called like an open portal, where you'll be able to see evidence of testimony from right around the world of British survivors of the Holocaust. We've got a charter to preserve the sites. We've got a way to preserve individual objects. So it'll have to be on fact. The Holocaust deniers can lie as much as they want, and rumours can move, but everything we do has got to be absolutely based on fact.
But
and we've
Eric,
got to ensure that you don't do... I'm sorry.
No, you keep talking about fact, absolutely, and there's no doubting or disputing the fact that the Holocaust took place. But yet, I turn on my social media and whatever, and I see time after time people standing up and saying, oh, this didn't happen. This was all made up. And it actually hurts. I mean, I'm not Jewish, but I'm a human being, and what these poor people were persecuted, how they were murdered, what happened to them. What should happen to people who are Holocaust deniers?
Well, they should be treated with consent. In some parts of the world, it's illegal. It's a criminal offence to do that. But we took a decision a long time ago not to do that. But I think there just need to be a lot of better training with the police. We've allowed From the River to the Sea to be chanted. And it's essentially, it's a song of ethnic cleansing. It's about removing Jews from Israel. And you can't do a Holocaust light. I mean, there was a number of attempts over the last few Holocaust Memorial days to try and bring Gaza and to give equal status with Gaza with the Holocaust, which is clearly entirely wrong and entirely based on a lie. And that's one of the reasons why the number of school commemorations have gone down. But there's a converse of that. If you take there are kind of two counterparts. You can either commemorate it, but also there's a lot of work taking place by the Holocaust Education Trust, and they've increased the number of things that they're doing, and they're taking technology into school, and they're taking witness testimony into school. They're taking objects into school, and they're creating ambassadors for the next generation, which is what this year is all about.
Yeah, and such important work that they do. Lord Eric Pickles, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Travel situation. Here's what the roads are doing.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Motorists are facing significant challenges on the A701 at St Anne's as the road is closed in both directions due to a serious incident. In Cheshire East, travel is disrupted on the M6 southbound, where road management issues have resulted in 2 lanes being blocked between junctions 17 and 16. Meanwhile, in Cambridgeshire, the A14 eastbound between junctions 21 and 22 has 1 lane closed, causing delays for drivers. In West Sussex, the A27 eastbound is experiencing hour-long delays due to a collision, with 1 lane still closed and traffic building up. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Sports time. Paul's here with us.
Hello.
Morning. What have you got for us?
Well, really, Gordon McQueen. You must have known Gordon McQueen when he was playing at Manchester United.
I didn't know him.
No, personally, but what a
never
player.
met him. Obviously, as I was a child then, really. I was a teenager, and I mean, great servant for Leeds as well.
Actually, in Scotland as well, scored against England, I remember back in '77. But he died in 2023 at the age of 70. The cause of death was pneumonia, but diagnosed with vascular dementia. Now, it's again, we're talking about this heading of footballs problem, which seems to affect so many older players and a lot of the 1966 team that have been lost through this. And it's whether there is a link between heading footballs when they're younger and then the vascular dementia, which happens later on.
I must admit, when I was a kid at school and you're playing for football teams and whatever, I was adverse to heading the ball.
I was as well.
Because the balls were different as well. They were much heavier.
Well, it's interesting because in the inquest, and it was the daughters of Gordon McQueen, Hayley McQueen, of course, very well known, and she was saying about the fact that today it's still bad because if these footballs now, not only are the fact they're still hard, but if you can think of the athletes now, the speed they're kicking the ball coming in, so that doesn't diminish the chances, if that is the reason, which seems to be it, the fact that it's going to affect players later on, because we've got Gordon McQueen. Look how many other generations of players that could be affected in the future.
Well, Hayley was saying when she felt her dad was suffering, and he said heading the ball didn't help, of course, towards his illness. But she said she faced a lot of opposition from the Football Association.
Yeah, well, there's a quote here from the FA, which is interesting because this is obviously hedging their bets. It says an FA spokesperson expressed the governing body's sincerest sympathy to McQueen's family and friends and added, whilst any association between heading of football and later brain health outcomes remain an area of ongoing scientific and medical research and debate, we continue to take a leading role in reviewing and improving safety in our game together with stakeholders and international governing bodies, which kind of says we're not completely convinced because then we're talking about industrial situations, industrial accidents, and then lawsuits, etc., etc. So they've got to be very careful about what they say, and obviously they are.
I think kids today in FA programmes, they're not allowed to head.
I think that's right, in training.
They're 10 or something, or 12.
But where does the game go? Because you think, well, does it stop altogether? Or is there a warning to say, well, this is what may happen?
You can ban headers. You could ban them.
Yeah. Well, like we did, just avoid them. But then again, in professional football, I don't think that's going to be the future.
It's not an option, is it?
Paul, appreciate it. Thank you very much indeed. 8:42 is the time.
Yep, and we're going to be discussing the Beckham family as they show a united front in Paris just 1 week after Brooklyn Beckham's social media onslaught. That's in the papers with Christo Fufas and Chloe Dobbs coming up next after the European forecast.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's unsettled in the UK at the moment and very unsettled across southern parts of Europe. Storm Joseph is bringing some very heavy rain across parts of Portugal, Spain, also Gibraltar as we go through the rest of today and into tomorrow. We're talking 50 to 100 millimetres of rain in just 24 hours. And it's similarly unsettled further east around Italy and neighbouring nations. A huge amount of rain coming, the risk of thunder, also some significant snow building up. More unsettled weather to come through this week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Nana Queer, weekends from 3 p.m.
The baby. It's a terrifying moment on a Welsh roadside that turned into a miracle. Two men rushed towards danger, not away from it, with flames spreading and a baby trapped inside a locked car. Instinct took over, seconds mattered, lives changed and heroes emerged against all odds. I'm joined by one of those heroes now, Wesley Bainan from South Wales. Wesley, may I just say, thank you for what you did, quite incredible. Talk to me about what happened and your response to it.
Firstly, thank you. I was basically driving back towards Merthyr from picking up a part for a car. And myself and my uncle and my auntie were travelling in my car, spotted a car in the lay-by, which was smoking quite a considerable amount. As we were passing the lay-by, we were aware that there was a woman at the side of the vehicle, clearly in distress. So we pulled over, by which point we'd realised the vehicle was on fire. We ran down to the vehicle. She was screaming horrifically, screaming that her baby was still in the car. Literally just, I went straight to the back doors thinking the baby would be in the back seat. And the baby wasn't, the back door was locked. I went back to the driver's door, opened the driver's door and didn't think nothing of it, just climbed inside, leaned over, opened the passenger door.
I mean, she must have been incredibly grateful to you.
She was, yes. She was. She was clearly in a state of shock and panic, as you could imagine. But she has been extremely thoughtful and has given no end of thanks from herself and her family.
Oh, well, look, you've done such an amazing job. Do we know why the car just decided to overheat and then burst into flames?
We don't. We have no idea yet. We have absolutely no idea.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back. We're going through the papers in the company of Chloe Dobbs and Christo Foufas. And Christo, let's start with you, shall we, and talk about the Beckhams. And Lady Beckham has been given, well, the equivalent of a knighthood in France.
Yes.
Tell us more.
It's, well, this is their first appearance, the family en masse, since, of course, the Brooklyn bombshell, shall we say. So they were out in Paris, where Victoria was made Officer of the Order of the Arts and Letters by Rachida Dati, who is the French culture minister.
And this is in recognition of her fashion design.
Yes, and that she relocated that fashion house to Paris. And Rachida Dati said, look, I'm very patriotic. I love the fact that she's relocated this fashion house to Paris. She also said she was a Spice Girls fan and she could show Victoria the dance moves. Not sure whether that raised a smile in Miss Beckham, because, of course, she is very famous for not smiling very often, certainly not smiling at the moment with her family problems. But when given the award, she thanked David, my husband, my original investor as well, because he was, and she went on to thank her parents and her children for always believing in my vision. I'm not sure you could say that all her children currently believe in her vision. Perhaps 3/4 of them believe in her vision currently, and 1/4 has a different vision, shall we say.
And the papers reporting that the family feel betrayed, Chloe.
Yes, I think it's very telling that Brooklyn did not turn up to support his mother in what is a very prestigious award to receive. Your families have bust-ups and fallouts all the time, but usually you come back together and you say, I forgive you, and then if another family member achieves something big, you'll support them. The fact that Brooklyn hasn't turned up has shown that this wedding drama has really severed the family, it would seem, and it's been very public and gone on for days and days on end. And it would be very interesting to see if at some point in the future that family bond is reunited.
Yeah, but of course, Victoria is the queen of smiling, well, sort of, what should I say, pouting at the cameras.
Yeah.
Do you remember when all of those allegations about David Beckham and Rebecca Lewis, don't know what went on, apparently, but of course, remember on the ski slopes, she was out there the next day, pouting for the cameras, showing a united front. This is what she does. We saw the photo a couple of days ago of her with the other Spice Girls as well, minus Mel B. So, she's out there, she's putting on a front and saying nothing else.
Talking about mountains, Chloe, here's a story in the Mirror, and these are two walkers who were rescued from the top of England's highest peak, Scafell. Right, tell us more. What happened?
This is a shocking story. You had these two walkers, they got lost on this mountain. The rescue services had to do a 7-hour rescue in the dark, in the night, trying to find these guys. And very kindly, the Wasdale Head Inn said, we'll put you up for the night, even though it's late at night, we'll take you in, we'll put you in a bed, we'll even give you a 35% discount, we'll feed you, we'll give you a lift to the train station the next day. And apparently, these two walkers, they weren't even grateful, they didn't say thank you, they were asking for an even greater discount than they were already given. And then they said, oh, we've left our money in our tent that's lost on the mountain, so here's our phone number and we'll pay you later. Then the hotel tries to ring this phone number doesn't work, they haven't paid, and now they're desperately trying to find these people to settle the bill. But the mountain rescue team, because they were very grateful to this hotel for taking in the people that they rescued, they put out a message trying to find these people, and consequently thousands of pounds have been sent in as donations to the rescue team and to the hotel as a thank you for the work that they've done.
Imagine being rescued and then just running off and not paying the bill.
Not even being grateful to this hotel for putting a roof over your head.
Broken Britain.
Yes, this is not very British, this lack of politeness, I have to say.
I'm going to tell you something that is very British now, right? And that is airport drop-off fees, right? Apparently it's very British. Now, I didn't know this because all our airports are owned by Spanish and American, Chinese and whatever it is. They're not owned by the Brits, right, our airports. But drop-off fees, which I can't stand.
Yeah.
And they're everywhere in every airport in Britain. But apparently that's all where they are. They're not.
We're finally number one at something. Yes, at last, our economy might be in the toilet, our government has no confidence, but we've reached number one of airport drop-off fees. Apparently, analysis revealing that apparently pretty much all the big airports in Britain charge drivers at least £5 to drop off. London City charges you £13 for 10 minutes. Gatwick, £10. I mean, if the Earth ever needs an enema, I always feel that Gatwick Airport would be the point of entry. Bristol, £8.50 for 10 minutes. Heathrow's £7. And so, you know, it's not like you drop these people off and you have the most wonderful, seamless, beautiful experience at these airports.
You're throwing them out the car, aren't you?
You're throwing them out the car. If you stay there, every minute you stay there longer, you get another £1 you're charged. You get these awful charges afterwards. And the thing is, the thing that annoys me the most about this is that you get all of the sort of environmental green lobby saying, oh, this is important so that you don't use your car. It's an airport.
You
there
don't
are
have a
planes.
choice. Yeah.
There are jet engines that's spitting out CO2 right, left and centre. Yet they will target you and I in our little Ford Fiestas, dropping people off. It is outrageous, and I'm sorry, you should just be able to drop off your family, say goodbye, and give them a hug.
Well, the thing I love about America is that in America this would never happen. In America, customer service is amazing. You never have to pay to park anywhere if you're paying for a flight. And everywhere you go, every shop, they have toilets, and you can, if you come in and say, oh, can I use the toilet? Say, yes, of course. They don't have, you know, in all these shops and coffee shops you go in these days, it says staff only. No, you're not allowed to use the toilet. Whereas in America, they're so much nicer to customers. They're spending money.
I find that hard to believe. I really do, Chloe, because the Americans introduce charges for everything, everywhere. If it's bad, it's come from America. But I'm fascinated that that's...
You know, they've just had to take away the paying for the toilets at King's Cross Station because so many customers complained. We're paying all this money for the train tickets. Let us go to the bathroom.
I'm a great believer in paying for loos because you go into them, they're clean, they're tidy.
That is true.
I love when you go abroad and somebody's standing with towels and whatever for you.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
What is it with pub loos, though? Why do you go to the most beautiful pubs in the United Kingdom and then you go into their loo and it's like they were built, you know, hundreds of years previously and haven't been updated? Make your toilets nice if your pub is nice.
Well, I remember when I was a kid, literally there was a hole in the floor at the pubs.
Oh.
And anyway, that was all that. Look, I just want to say, Carol Kirkwood, the BBC weather presenter, is retiring after 25 years. Our congratulations to her. We're back after this.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good morning to you. This is your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. Storm Chandra is here. It's already brought some very heavy rain and it's going to continue to do so through today, as well as the risk of damaging winds. The strongest winds will be across parts of Northern Ireland. Eastern parts of Northern Ireland have the risk of gusts of around 70, 75 miles per hour and some significant disruption likely. Worth noting elsewhere, as the band of heavy rain pushes its way northwards, we're going to see some significant snow building up over higher ground of parts of northern England and also much of Scotland, and then elsewhere showers following in behind after a very wet night towards the southwest. Temperatures just about getting into double figures towards the south, much colder than this further north, all the while when it's so wet and so windy, well, it's going to feel much colder than those temperatures may suggest. So a wet end to the day across much of central, northern and eastern Scotland. Lots of snow falling and accumulating over the higher ground. That's going to cause some disruption. The strong winds and the heavy rain continues across Northern Ireland for a little while yet. Difficult conditions for the evening rush hour. Meanwhile, plenty of showers then feeding in from the south and west across much of England and Wales. Just some central eastern parts of England having a drier, clearer end to the day. Then as we go overnight, well, we start to see the influence of Storm Chandra clearing away. So the weather will be quietening down. There'll be some dry, clear weather across some central eastern parts of England, and that could allow for a touch of frost perhaps. Elsewhere, some rain towards the northeast of Scotland, some showery rain towards the southwest, and with that, temperatures not dropping as low where we have the cloud and the rain. Then Wednesday, actually, for a large chunk of the country, doesn't look too bad a day. Yes, a frosty start, but there will be some dry, even sunny weather around for many places. The exception being across eastern parts of Scotland, some wet, some wintry weather here, and also across much of Northern Ireland and at times parts of Wales and the southwest, where it will be cloudy and wet at times as well. Temperatures, well, similar to today, but feeling a bit more pleasant out of the rain.
warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you to our global community for watching and listening to GB News. We're not only the #1 news channel in Britain, we're chosen by you around the world.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M8 eastbound between Junction 30 and Junction 29 is currently restricted due to a road traffic collision. On the A487, both directions between Llanrhystr and Aberystwyth, an incident has led to local diversions. In Leicestershire, the M6 slip road to the A14 eastbound remains closed following a traffic collision. Motorists in West Sussex will face delays on the A27 eastbound between the A259 Havant and A259 Chichester West due to a collision reducing lanes. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and Cross Country report major disruptions on various routes. Stay up to date at gbnews.com.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest cash prize winner to date, as there's a simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash to be won. Go on that dream holiday, buy that brand new car, or just relax in the knowledge that the rest of the year could be on us. But you have to hurry, as lines close on Friday the 30th of January. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Yeah.
Hello there. Ahead of his trip, the Housing and Local Government Secretary Steve Reid defended the Prime Minister's decision to go to China and meet Chinese leaders.
It shouldn't be about people's individual characteristics. I think it was wrong. The party withdrew that and said it was a mistake.
Well, the comments come as former Home Secretary Suella Braverman becomes the latest defector to the Reform Party. Well, Nigel Farage has hit back, claiming attacks from the Tories will only worsen. So are we witnessing the return of gutter politics? Ahead of his trip to China, the Housing and Local Government Secretary Steve Reid defended the Prime Minister's decision to meet Chinese leaders in Beijing.
China's also the second biggest economy on the planet. 370,000 British jobs depend on it. We're not going to throw those people on the scrap heap and tell them they can't have a job anymore. We have to trade with China, but we do it eyes wide open. National security is always paramount, as it should be.
It's National Holocaust Memorial Day. We'll be reflecting on those who suffered during one of the darkest periods in history that saw 6 million Jewish people murdered by the Nazis.
We're also going to meet 3 amazing brave rowers who've made history as the youngest team to ever row an ocean.
We'll be discussing why the Beckhams are showing a united front in Paris just a week after Brooklyn's social media onslaught. Hello, a very good morning to you on this Tuesday morning. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast. So many of you getting in touch today on Suella Braverman. Danny says, Suella joining Reform is a massive capture for Reform and has piqued my interest back in the party. Be interesting to see what happens next year. Elizabeth says, with all the moving of Conservatives to Reform, is there a danger that if Farage wins, most of his cabinet will be former Conservatives?
So, Suella Braverman, we've now got Catherine Forster in the studio. Catherine is our chief political correspondent. And so what do you make of this? I thought it was quite an interesting show. It was a bit of a love-in between her and Nigel Farage. It looked genuinely affectionate. She was quite confident on stage. I thought she was quite entertaining as well. So why is she going? Why is she going to Reform, do you think?
Well, to be honest, as Chris Hope, our political editor, said at the press conference late yesterday afternoon, we were not surprised by this. I interviewed her, I think it's September, and I said, can you rule out defecting because you seem to have so much in common with them. She was at odds with the Conservative Party for a long time. She was sacked by Rishi Sunak. She has been strident on the need to pull out of the European Convention on human rights. She feels that she's been saying things that are much more in line with the Reform view than the Conservative Party. I was there yesterday at the well, it was a veterans' rally. It had been going on over an hour when suddenly Suella Braverman magicked out of nowhere, and she said that she feels like she's come home. So, yeah, incredibly a sort of love-in between Nigel Farage and her looking at the photos. But, of course, it adds to this sense of momentum that Reform have got because this is the fourth Conservative defection in a fortnight and 3 sitting Conservative MPs have gone over in the last week and a half. So they've gone from having 5 MPs to 8.
And what does Suella Braverman bring Reform? Why would Nigel Farage be happy for her to be there?
Well, she brings experience, and this is what he will always say when people say, you say Britain is broken and now you're filling it with the Conservatives who broke it. He says, we need experience. We haven't been in government. We need people that have and know how the system works. That will be his defence. She brings experience. She was Home Secretary. She was in the Conservative government. But talking about the risk of them looking like sort of Tories 2.0, there's a whole load now of Boris Johnson's cabinet, not to mention Liz Truss's, that are now sitting in Reform. Boris Johnson's former Chancellor, Community Secretary, Culture Secretary, Attorney General, Political Secretary, Northern Powerhouse Minister and Scotland Minister, to name just a few. So I think it's a balancing act. Nigel Farage has said if you're a Tory, come before May the 7th, the local elections, otherwise the doors will be closed. Zia Youssef, for one, head of policy, I think is very concerned about letting too many Tories in. The question is, how many is too many?
Can we talk about the Tories? Mark's been in touch this morning, Catherine, saying, may I say that I think the Tories have sunk to an all-time low, putting out that statement referencing Suella Braverman's mental health. This wasn't for the Tory party to put out there. On moral grounds, I feel as though they were weaponising and taking an opportunity to throw stones at their ex-colleague. It's worth saying that they did then retract that statement, didn't they? Put it back out without any reference to her mental health. But why did it go out in the first place?
Well, there seems to have been a breakdown in communications. The Tories are now saying that that was a draft that should never have gone out. I read a little bit of it on GB News yesterday from that event. I was struck by how brutal it was. And, of course, there was a lot of condemnation. I think it's worth mentioning, though, that a couple of years ago, when there was all the row with Rupert Lowe, there were some suggestions coming from people in Reform that he might have had dementia. So I don't think that was a good look either. But clearly, it was a big misstep. I'm sure there will be a lot of soul-searching as to what went wrong, because the Tories do not need mistakes like that when Reform have got the momentum. And again, it's only a couple of weeks since I was up in Edinburgh with Kemi Badenoch when she sacked Robert Jenrick. She was on the front foot saying, Robert Jenrick's not my problem anymore, looking strong. But, you know, the winds of change are blowing, and at the moment they're blowing to Reform.
OK, Catherine, thank you very much.
Right, tell you what we're going to do now. We've got a lot of disruption out there, not just politically, but meteorologically as well. And this is the storm that's hit the country and hit Dougie Beattie, as you can see there. Dougie, where are you today? Tell us what the latest is in Northern Ireland.
Well, I'm on the Ards Peninsula, the east coast of Northern Ireland, and we're down in a place called Grey Abbey, very historical place. But you can just see behind me the type of hazards that have now came along. And this, of course, is trees down. It's a really dangerous thing to happen, because this will just slow this car down because you can see here there's a blind corner here. And if you just turn that way, you can see there's a blind corner. And as the traffic approaches this, there is no warnings on this yet, and this is what we are really looking at in storms. And as those cars come round the corner, they're faced with trees out along the roadside. So this morning we've had floods up the Portaferry Road, quite substantial floods. And now, of course, we have this. There is quite a few of them down across Northern Ireland, and that will take power cables down as it goes. But at this moment in time, Eamonn, the real worry here is, as we showed you there, this is backcountry roads, blind corners as they come into it. I mean, we've actually watched 7 cars this morning taking their life in their hands and driving underneath this tree as it sits and bounces on this wall. I mean, this wall is probably about 200 years old. It's round the side of Lord Dunleith's estate, and it's not a very stable wall, to be honest about it. And, you know, with a tree that size hanging on it, it's going to cause problems. Other problems today in Northern Ireland: ferry cancellations, airports, of course, hit quite hard by this, and most schools in the East Coast are off today, which I don't necessarily agree with, but they are. And that means that more people will be staying at home. More people that are in the private sector that are having to take days off work to look after those children, and that will cost Northern Ireland a lot of money. But really, at this moment in time, as light comes up, we are really looking at hazards on the road and power outages across the east of the province.
No, you're not far away from water. You're not far away from Strangford Lough there at all. What is the situation like on water?
Well, the sea, strange enough, we're lucky enough that the tide's only coming back in Strangford Lough, but where it is coastal, the waves are breaching the walls coming over. That's what's happened on the Portaferry Road. And of course, the ground is already sodden. I mean, it's strange. Just looking back at storms in Northern Ireland I've covered, and it was this day last year that we were out covering the dark hedges, etc., that had fallen in round Portrush. So it is something that we're used to, but you just have to be aware of it, and especially while driving those coastal routes. As you've pointed out, the sea will be coming and breaching those walls, coming over and flooding the roads. But most people that live in those areas, Eamonn, are well used to it. And as you do know, coming from Northern Ireland, there's not a great lot of us live round the sea. Most of it is a little bit inland. And it's strange that it seems to be the town folk that are having problems with storms and with snow, etc., when it comes in.
Well, the last
Those of us that lived in the countryside, Eamonn, are well used to it.
Yeah, Dougie, a lot of people very worried. The last time we saw you, you were in heavy water. I think it was fair to say you soaked.
Yeah, you were drenched through, weren't you, Dougie? So many of our viewers got in touch saying they're worried about you.
Concerned.
They want you to have a hot drink. They want you to dry off, and they've called you a national treasure for your reporting in this storm.
a national treasure. I also heard Eamonn Holmes saying that I was probably enjoying it. Eamonn knows what I do with trees, to be honest. He knows if that was near my house, the tractor would be down, the chainsaw out.
The chainsaw would be out and that would be it. But Dougie cuts up logs in a very lovely way. And if you ever need anything for your fire, he does them beautifully, Catherine, so he does it. Just lovely the way he does it. He's an artist. The man is an artist.
Oh, well, you can maybe start on that tree behind you then.
Cheers, mate. Stay safe.
If only.
Okay, stay safe, and
we will.
We'll see you throughout the day. I know you're very, very wet. Sorry about that, but there we go. Thank you very much.
Stay safe, Dougie. Thank you so much for all that reporting.
Right. Okay, let's get the Great British Giveaway, because it's important now, because it's going to end on Friday.
4 days left.
Yeah.
Yeah. To win £85,000, you don't want to miss that opportunity. Here are all of the details that you need.
There's only 4 days left to see how you could win, as our biggest cash prize to date is up for grabs, an incredible £85,000, and it really could be yours. That's tax-free cash to spend all throughout 2026. What would you do with £85,000? But you have to hurry, as lines close at 4 p.m. on Friday. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News week commencing 9th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck. Leslie's been in touch saying, I'm voting for a Dougie Day in the studio. Isn't he lovely? A nice warm day in the studio. He deserves it, actually, after all of that.
No, he deserves what he gets. Leave him there. He's fine.
He can come in and join you whilst I'm on honeymoon. You two could have a boys' day.
Yeah.
You'd be up for that?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Talk to you around very quickly.
That'd be good.
Very good.
Right, 13 minutes past 9 o'clock. Whatever you're doing, I hope your day is going well. But these guys, their day, their week, their month went really well. Who are they, Ellie?
Well, they're the 3 flying fish. They're 3 young rowers who have made history. So young, they've become the youngest team ever to row across an ocean. We're going to be chatting with them live next.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
We were to be going to Antigua, spelled Antigua.
Yes.
To speak to our rowers. Little bit of disruption on the line, so we're trying to sort that out, and we'll get there in a flick of a switch.
We certainly will.
Stage.
But in the meantime, you've been keeping us company with all of your views. Ian's been in touch talking about the PM on his way to China. Ian says Starmer is desperate for any investment into our economy. I think China will offer the investment, but the results will be on us. Financially in their pocket. Also, lots of reaction to Emil Heskey. Nicola says it's a great thing, sounds like a great thing, this safety app for using in football games. She said, I wonder if it will be suitable to report away fans in a home end. Yeah, we should put that to him, perhaps. Danny says Suella joining Reform is a massive capture for Reform. And Mark mentions mentioning Suella Braverman's mental health in a statement from the Tories yesterday, saying it's not nice to throw stones at an ex-colleague. That didn't go down very well. Boudica says Suella Braverman is certainly not a failed Tory. Lots of references to that, saying that the Reform UK has become a failed Tory party. Boudica says the only failures are those who did not listen to her about getting rid of the ECHR.
Helen says, I feel that one of your shows needs to reflect the lack of stability that we've had for years with successive governments. We've had so many prime ministers since Gordon Brown, I've lost count. She says, Labour is finished and can't work together, but in the future, if we do have a Reform government, they really have to put any differences aside they might have. Of course, egos will get in the way here, and we just need a stabilised country here. It's a really terrible time of the year. I mean, when you think about it, you know, Christmas and all that nonsense, and everybody pays out and whatever, and then we're all in debt. We're all completely in debt, so January's awful. And then people come around and say, don't eat in January, don't drink in January,
I know,
dry
just
January,
adds to it, doesn't
and all that. As if you're not miserable enough. I mean,
don't make it harder for yourselves.
Your excuse is that you haven't got any money, really, to go out and socialise. Yeah. But it's a dreary, horrible time of the year.
I need a glass of wine.
You're getting out of it.
I am tomorrow. Yes, I'm off my honeymoon tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I mean, she got married about 7 years ago or whatever, but she got married last summer, and now she's got the honeymoon.
Can I tell you why?
Yes, why?
Why we had to have this gap. Because we got married 6 months ago, and you will know it was an extravaganza in the south of France. You were invited, weren't you? It was a 3-day wedding, and that took so much planning because there wasn't a wedding planner. I was the wedding planner, and it took it out of me. It knocked the stuffing out of me. So then, for the honeymoon, which I'm also planning, I was like, I need to give myself some time to plan this.
Right. And what a plan. Can we tell people what you've planned to do?
Yeah, I'm going on safari.
Yeah, safari, absolutely. And you've never been on a safari.
And it's been my dream holiday
well,
since I was about this high. Yeah. And you've been before, haven't you? And you said it was one of the best holidays ever.
Oh, our rowers are here already.
Oh, well, lovely.
Yeah, so let's go. And there you see, hello, good morning, to Rowan Daly, Anna Dunk and Harry Allen there. Guys, from us to you, could we just say impressive? We really, absolutely brilliant. Congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. How are you feeling? Incredible. It's been a long journey here, but now we're very glad we're on dry land and being able to relax for a little bit.
Well, listen, I said to you before, and I'll say it again, I can think of nothing worse. And 3,000 miles in a boat, bobbing up and down, rowing. Was it worse than you thought, better than you thought? How would you guys describe it?
I think for most of us, we actually found the rowing bit quite easy. It was the easier bit of the crossing. I think the mental side was 100% harder, like the homesickness and just like the sleep deprivation. And I remember, I think the worst thing was getting woken up for your 2 hours on the oars at 3 o'clock in the morning. And oh my God, you were just so tired, but you had to get up. So it was definitely like tough in ways that we didn't expect, but also I think like we didn't expect the good bits either.
But Anna, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, she's been celebrating.
It's been like this for about 2 weeks, so I was screaming the other day coming in, so I've got to stop talking too much, I think.
What's it like for you now to have this world record under your belts? That is incredible. So you're the youngest rowers ever to row any ocean, is that right?
Yes, correct. Honestly, it's insane. We're literally being treated like royalty here in the lovely sunny Antigua. I was walking around the boat park yesterday for our inspection, and literally I got stopped probably 50 times in a 100-metre path by people saying, "Oh, you're my hero, you're amazing, you're so inspiring." And it's just so nice that so many people following our story, and the amount of people that donated to our charity. We've raised £53,000 now for Teenage Cancer Trust, which is amazing. That's over double.
That's the important bit. That's more than double that you'd set out to do. Yeah, well,
Exactly.
that is the brilliant part of it. Guys, as we say, just incredible admiration from us and our viewers and listeners who just want to pass on all their congratulations as well. We just reached a point in the programme where we've got to say goodbye to you guys. So thank you very much indeed.
Congratulations.
Rowan, Anna and Harry, thank you very much indeed.
And Britain's Newsroom is coming up at 9:30 with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates. That's after the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good morning to you. This is your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. Storm Chandra is here. It's already brought some very heavy rain and it's going to continue to do so through today, as well as the risk of damaging winds. The strongest winds will be across parts of Northern Ireland. Eastern parts of Northern Ireland have the risk of gusts of around 75 miles per hour and some significant disruption likely. Worth noting elsewhere, as the band of heavy rain pushes its way northwards, we're going to see some significant snow building up over higher ground of parts of northern England and also much of Scotland, and then elsewhere showers following in behind after a very wet night towards the southwest. Temperatures just about getting into double figures towards the south, much colder than this further north, all the while when it's so wet and so windy, well, it's going to feel much colder than those temperatures may suggest. So a wet end to the day across much of central, northern and eastern Scotland. Lots of snow falling and accumulating over the higher ground. That's going to cause some disruption. The strong winds and the heavy rain continues across Northern Ireland for a little while yet. Difficult conditions for the evening rush hour. Meanwhile, plenty of showers then feeding in from the south and west across much of England and Wales. Just some central eastern parts of England having a drier, clearer end to the day. Then as we go overnight, well, we start to see the influence of Storm Chandra clearing away. So the weather will be quietening down. There'll be some dry, clear weather across some central eastern parts of England, and that could allow for a touch of frost perhaps. Elsewhere, some rain towards the northeast of Scotland, some showery rain towards the southwest, and with that, temperatures not dropping as low where we have the cloud and the rain. Then Wednesday, actually, for a large chunk of the country, doesn't look too bad a day. Yes, a frosty start, but there will be some dry, even sunny weather around for many places, the exception being across eastern parts of Scotland, some wet, some wintry weather here, and also across much of Northern Ireland and at times parts of Wales and the southwest, where it will be cloudy and wet at times as well. Temperatures, well, similar to today, but feeling a bit more pleasant out of the rain.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for helping us reach 10 million followers across social media. We are truly honoured to have your trust, one follower at a time.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Motorists on the M8 eastbound face disruptions between Junction 18 and Junction 17 due to a road traffic incident. Local diversions are in place on the A487 between Llanrhystr and Aberystwyth. In Leeds, the A1M southbound between junctions 45 and 44 is experiencing issues following a collision, with 2 of 3 lanes currently shut. Expect delays of about 30 minutes. Meanwhile, the M6 slip road to the A14 in Leicestershire is closed following an accident. In West Sussex, the A27 eastbound between the A259 Havant and Chichester West intersection faces an hour's delay due to another mishap.